Jax glanced one last time at the pink diamond ring, then reached out and clapped Sam on the shoulder. I can't afford it yet, but one day, I'm coming back for it. It's for... Well, if it isn't the talk of the town, our very own Jackson Pierce. A grating voice cut through the air, and a figure blocked their path. Clean yourself up with a new set of clothes, and you almost look human. But what's your net worth exactly? You think you can just waltz into a place like this? Do you have any idea how exclusive this brand is? A single one of these little rings would cost you a lifetime of part-time jobs. You think you can afford that? The man standing before them was none other than Landon Holt's older brother, Logan. Logan was a few years older than Landon and, with a healthy dose of family money and connections, had launched a startup in New York that was now supposedly worth tens of millions. He loved to roll up to Kingston in his Mercedes to pick up Landon, giving his little brother endless bragging rights among his peers. Of course, Logan had also taken an interest in Chloe Vance. The two had been carrying on a secret affair for some time. In his past life, when Jax was tied to a hospital bed, Chloe had finally admitted it, confessing that she and Logan had unleashed their true natures multiple times in his Mercedes in the campus parking garage. She kept the younger Landon on a string while actively pursuing the more mature, established Logan. I was wondering where that god-awful stench was coming from, Jax said, his voice dripping with disdain. Turns out it's just you old sewer turtle. Logan, is it? Sounds more like Lummox, who died and made you king of the jewelry store. Did your daddy buy the welcome mat? Jax arched an eyebrow. He really should have checked his horoscope this morning. He was running into trash everywhere he went. Logan's face darkened. His name, Logan, had a strong, classic feel. How did Jax manage to twist it into something so demeaning? Jackson, you dare insult me? You're the one who's broke, but pretending to be a big shot. Now that you can't afford anything, you're about to slink away with your tail between your legs. I'm just helping you see reality. A high-end place like this isn't for lowlifes like you. A sharp tongue isn't going to pay your bills, is it? Logan sneered. Get your manager over here. That diamond ring the pauper was just drooling over. I'm buying it. I'm a VIP customer now. And my first request is that you throw this pathetic broke-ass eyesore out of your store. Logan was dressed in a custom-tailored suit, his hair slicked back with a greasy sheen, his leather shoes polished to a mirror shine. He jutted out his chin, striking a pose like a smug villain from a B-list movie. In contrast, Jax and Sam were in simple white shirts and jeans, clean, energetic, and clearly college students without a penny to their names. Don't look so bitter, Jackson, Logan continued, his voice oozing condescension. Once you're out in the real world and get beaten down a few times, you'll understand. No one gives you respect. Respect is built on a pile of cash in your pocket. He smirked. You were planning to save up and buy that pink diamond for Chloe, weren't you? Well, today I'm going to give you an early lesson from society. The things you'll never afford in your life, I can buy with pocket change. The places I can walk into freely are the same ones you rats have to scurry around. Now get out. Manager, I'll take it. I'll use my card. Logan tilted his chin provocatively, his disdain for Jax palpable. He was going to teach this broke college kid a lesson he'd never forget. How dare a penniless student challenge him, a company CEO? It was absurd. Not only that, he knew Kingston University pushed its students into internships by their sophomore year. With his connections, he could make sure Jax, with his ruined family name and no background, wouldn't find a single internship in all of New York City. Logan, you lummox, don't push it. Sam stepped forward, unable to take it anymore. This mall isn't your private property. Who the hell are you to kick us out? The Holt brothers had given Jax endless grief over Chloe in the past, treating him like a servant, tricking him into a lab, and locking him in overnight in the dead of winter. The list of cruel pranks was endless. And every time, Chloe would soothe Jax with a few empty words, and he'd swallow his anger. But why should Jax have to put up with it now? Of course, Jax had no intention of backing down, especially not when Logan insulted him by suggesting the ring was for Chloe. Gentlemen, if you're done browsing, please see yourselves out, the manager said, his tone polite but firm. He was a seasoned professional, but his posture was all about ushering them out the door. We need to clear the area to serve our VIP client. Despite his words, he gestured for a sales associate to greet a new customer who had just walked in. The clearing the area was clearly just for him and Sam. Hold on, Jax said, his voice suddenly calm. This mall is under my name. Why should I leave? He had made a point to check the name when he walked in. Zenith International Plaza, located right in the heart of Midtown Manhattan. It was one of the Astor Group's major commercial development projects, and it was one of the many gifts Lilith had given him. He'd come here with the simple idea of keeping his money within the family business. He hadn't expected to run into this idiot. It seemed he had no choice but to pull rank. Ha ha, Jackson, that's the funniest joke I've heard all year. Logan roared with laughter. You think this is some corner bodega? Everyone knows Zenith International Plaza is one of the most high-end malls in the city, an asset of New York's top family, the Astor Group. You're saying it's in your name? Why don't you go all out and say that the Astor Group's youngest, most ruthless CEO, the great Lilith Astor, is your wife? You're unbelievable. Wow, the delusion is strong with this one. It's a real eye-opener. Logan was practically falling off the sofa laughing. He'd even lost the desire to kick Jax out. Go on, manager, he taunted. Take a good look. Is this your boss? Have you ever seen him before? His mocking, humiliating gaze was relentless. The manager's expression soured into one of pure contempt. Sir, I think you might have some mental issues. If you don't have any money, don't come to places that are out of your league and cause trouble for everyone. Our sales associates are wasting their time on you. Don't delay us from serving our valued guests. If you don't leave now, I'll have to call security. As he spoke, he moved to shove Jax out of the store. He didn't believe a word of Jax's insane claim. It was just the pathetic pride of a poor college student. Who is your direct supervisor? Jax's voice was ice. Call him. Tell him Jackson Pierce is here and that he should come down and greet me personally. He hadn't wanted to use the things Lily had given him to show off, but when someone came looking for trouble, he didn't mind leaning on her power. Every man has his off days. Ooh, Jackson Pierce? Is that name supposed to mean something? The head of Zenith International has to come greet you personally? Why not dream a little bigger? Why not have Lilith Astor, the great Ms. Astor herself, come greet you? Pathetic. This act is getting old, Jackson. You're killing me. Logan mocked him, settling in to watch the show. He waved at the manager, encouraging him to make the call. If Jax wanted to play the part of a big shot, Logan would let him play it out to its humiliating end. Logan barked at his assistant. Go over to that corner, get your phone out, and start a live stream on the Kingston University forums. Title it, Exposing the Fake Rich Kid. Jackson Pierce's Lies Unravel. His assistant scurried off to obey. The jewelry store manager, Robert, dialed his supervisor's number in front of everyone. It rang for a while before someone picked up. What is it? Mr. Grant, my sincerest apologies for bothering you. It's just, I have a broke college student here claiming he's the owner of Zenith International Plaza. The mall's general manager, Mr. Grant, immediately found the story ridiculous. What is this nonsense? He snapped impatiently. Zenith International serves only the top-tier Astor family. You're calling and wasting my time over some wannabe? Do you even want your job anymore? Robert's face went pale. Being reprimanded for no reason left a sour taste in his mouth. He turned his anger on Jax. Security, get this liar out of here. You're Jackson Pierce, right? Give him a good beating, and then... He pointed a finger at Jax, ready to unleash his fury on the source of his problems. But as he shouted the name, he didn't notice the person on the other end of the line had gone silent for several seconds. What? What was that? Pierce. Jackson what? Mister. Grant's voice suddenly changed, and he shot up from his office chair. It was over. It was all over. His career was on the line. Jackson Pierce. Robert stammered. Mister. Grant, is something wrong? A cold dread crept up Robert's spine. With years of experience in the service industry, his finely tuned instincts were screaming at him that he was about to be fired. But the person in front of him was just an unknown, broke college student. Wrong? You're on your own, buddy. Where are you? I'm coming down right now. Robert turned his head, looking in disbelief at the young man who was casually leaning against a jewelry counter, hands in his pockets. Jax felt his gaze and gave him a playful wink. Hiss! Robert felt a chill run down his spine. That wasn't a wink, that was a death threat. My God, Jackson Pierce's aura, his posture. He was clearly, untouchably, noble. Oh God, save me. The live stream on the Kingston University forums instantly became a trending topic. Students flooded the link. What's this title mean? Is Jax really a fake rich kid? I saw him drive 2 different hypercars to campus. That doesn't seem fake. OMG, am I the only one who thinks Jax is devastatingly handsome? That sharp brow, those starry eyes, that refined and noble aura. He makes a simple white shirt look like every girl's high school dream guy. And his body looks incredible. Our campus queen, Chloe Vance, is going to regret this. Her former lapdog got a glow up into a rich and handsome prince. Talk about casting pearls before swine. Yeah, right? So Jax found a shortcut to success that lets him skip decades of work and didn't share it with the rest of us. He's probably just sleeping with some old, fat cougar behind our backs. I'm not jealous at all. What's wrong with me? Why does even a former emo kid like Jax get sugar mama to spoil him? When is it my turn for that kind of luck? Get over it, dude. You gotta accept your role as an NPC. Right now, we're just the online mob watching the main character show off. Look on the bright side. Statistically, you might not get a windfall of good fortune, but a mountain of bad luck is definitely coming your way. And don't get salty. Sure, Jax got rich with a sugar mama, but he also lost all his worries. Let go, people. We might not get scholarships, but there's always a spot for us in line for the university bell tower. Peace sign emoji. Mr. Pierce, your tea. Robert personally brewed the tea and gingerly presented it to Jax, practically wanting to feed it to him. Hey you with the snobby attitude. Get the hell away from my boy Jax. Sam snapped, disgusted by the manager's instant transformation. Any closer, this is going to get real weird. The person whose face was the most twisted in disbelief was Logan Holt. He watched, aghast, as the manager's attitude toward Jax did a complete 180. He shot to his feet, shouting, "Manager, do you not want your bonus this year? I'm the one who just bought a $5 million pink diamond ring from your store." What did he do? Just say his name? Besides, it could be a common name. There are probably 1,000 Jackson Pierces. I told you to throw him out. What are you waiting for? Logan sneered at Robert's change of heart. There had to be a mistake. Jax was a nobody from fallen family. He knew for a fact that the Pierce family had blacklisted Jax, telling everyone in the finance industry not to give him an internship. How could someone abandoned and despised by his own family be the owner of Zenith International Plaza? On what grounds? What right did Jax have to such a massive fortune? It was laughable. Just then, the jewelry store doors were flung open, and a middle-aged man in a suit rushed in, drenched in sweat. Robert's face immediately broke into a fawning smile. "Mr. Grant, you came in person? Where's Mr. Pierce?" Mr. Grant didn't even have time to wipe the sweat from his forehead. Zenith International Plaza was one of the gifts Ms. Astor had given her new husband, Jackson Pierce, to win his favor. The thing was, the new husband didn't seem interested in any of the gifts Ms. Astor had showered upon him and had never come to take possession of them. But as the professional manager of Zenith Plaza, he would never forget the name of his employer, not even if he were reduced to ashes. Ms. Astor had given the order herself. Jackson Pierce was his direct boss. Back in the Kingston University livestream. Hiss. "Mr. What? Mr. Pierce. That sounds so formal. So a boy toy can be a Mr. now? My mind is blown. If you're one sugar mama's boy toy, you get to be a Mr. If you're several sugar mama's boy toy, does that make you a chairman of the board? Dude, to have multiple sugar mamas, you gotta have the goods. You gotta be good, and you gotta be long." "You were looking for me?" Jax said, lifting his gaze, his expression unreadable. "Mr. Pierce, you're finally here. Zenith International is just your private property. You can take whatever you want, free of charge. It's just, are you running into some trouble?" Mr. Grant was an old fox. He could tell at a glance that some idiot had dared to bother his boss. He looked up and saw Logan, who had been arrogantly lounging on the VIP leather sofa just moments before, now standing rigidly. The man's back was ramrod straight, his earlier arrogance gone. He greeted Mr. Grant in a low, deferential voice. Mr. Grant, are you familiar with Jackson Pierce? He's just a broke student. You must have the wrong person." Mr. Grant shot him a cold look. "Your father is an unlucky man to have a son like you," he said, his voice like ice. "I heard you took a large sum of money from your family to start a business, and now you've had some minor success. Your company has been acquired. Now, crawl over here and beg Mr. Pierce for forgiveness." Mr. Grant's voice was powerful and chilling. Logan was terrified. Mr. Grant was a major figure his family could only dream of connecting with. And yet, this powerful man was acting so deferential to Jax. It was impossible. What kind of big shot could Jax be? At best, he was a pretty boy being kept by some old, ugly rich woman. He wouldn't accept it. This was the same broke student he used to torment, the one who could only trail behind him like a kicked puppy. He wasn't worthy of an apology, let alone on his knees. Besides, the live stream was still running. If he, Logan Holt, actually knelt, everyone at Kingston University would know what a spineless loser he was. Logan's temper flared. A pretty boy was just a face. What if he ruined that face? With that thought, Logan suddenly shoved Mr. Grant aside and grabbed a pair of sharp scissors from a nearby sales associate's gift wrapping station. He lunged straight for Jax, who was seated nearby. His target was Jax's face. Logan was fast, so fast he almost reached Jax's clothes. But suddenly, a sickle sliced through the air, spinning with deadly force. The razor-sharp blade cleanly severed the hand Logan was holding the scissors with. In the corner, Logan's assistant's hand conveniently slipped, and the camera feed tilted toward the door. The bloody scene was perfectly missed. Instead, the camera captured a dozen tall, well-dressed men in suits bowing as a formidable figure in black walked toward them. They parted automatically to create a path. A woman appeared, dressed in a form-fitting ink-black silk dress. It revealed the long, elegant column of her jade-like neck and her delicate, sexy collarbones. The dress clung to her graceful, willowy figure, and black stockings encased her long, straight legs, creating an aura of lethal, bewitching allure. At that moment, her icy gaze was filled with murderous intent. Her crimson lips were pressed into a thin line, and her snow-white skin seemed to be coated in a thin layer of frost under the light. She was like a fox demon, capable of stealing souls, yet radiating a terrifying, deadly energy. Everyone in the room seemed to have their breath stolen, not even daring to breathe. The camera only lingered on her for 2 seconds, not even capturing her face clearly, but it was enough to leave the entire audience stunned into silence. A beauty like a vengeful spirit, a woman whose mere glance felt like a gift. "Jax, come here." The live stream chat went insane. "Oh my god, is this stunning ice queen the rich CEO who's keeping Jax? What luck." This is the definition of good fortune. That aura, that presence, she's giving off major heiress of a dynasty vibes. I'd bark for her, I swear. Gasp, what did I just see? A silk dress with black stockings, red lips on snow-white skin. Is the bark for her event still open? I'm getting in line. Aha! Logan watched in horror as his own hand was severed right in front of him, blood gushing from the stump. Something soft and heavy hit the floor, and a sickeningly fleshy object rolled over his foot. He looked at Jax, who was just inches away, but he didn't dare take another step. Jax was stunned too. He saw a familiar, razor-sharp sickle flash past his eyes. The sickle was blood red, engraved with a crescent moon hanging over a blooming, deadly nightshade, a symbol of decadent, cruel nobility. The sound of high heels clicking on the floor, like a death knell, drew everyone's attention. Mr. Grant's eyes immediately locked onto the figure. It was Ms. Lilith Astor. She had come in person for Jackson Pierce. Robert and the other staff were already paralyzed with fear. In an instant, the entire jewelry store was surrounded by imposing bodyguards in black suits. The remaining customers were politely escorted out. The Astor family crest on the bodyguards' custom suits made everyone's eyes go wide. Anyone in the know didn't need to be told twice. They were already scrambling to get away. The Astors were New York's #1 family, not just in terms of immense wealth, but as an entity that even ordinary millionaires couldn't hope to approach. Rumor had it that the heiress, Lilith Astor, held the true power, a bloodthirsty, ruthless woman who was cold and decisive, with control over both the city's elite and its underworld. If you displeased her, she could crush a family with a wave of her hand. She was, in short, a terrifying monster. But right now, the woman walking toward them in stilettos was the picture of elegance. The silk dress accentuated the softness and curves of her figure, a full bust, a narrow waist, long legs, and black stockings. My God, what kind of monster could be so devastatingly beautiful? But then their gazes shifted to Logan Holt, writhing in agony on the floor with a severed hand, and their eyes quickly snapped back to a respectful, fearful stare. Jack stood up, his eyes fixed on Lilith's attire. When he'd left this morning, she hadn't been wearing this. Black stockings. Who taught her to dress like this? Jax's breath hitched. Hearing Lilith call his name, he obediently walked to her side. "Lily, what are you doing here?" he asked, his voice tinged with a guilty conscience. You said you missed me," she replied softly. "So I came." Lilith moved closer to Jax, and the intoxicating scent of a woman instantly enveloped him. The high-quality silk of her dress brushed against him, her body pressing close to his. Her arms wrapped around his neck, a possessive, dominant gesture that, because of the softness of her skin, felt overwhelmingly intimate and seductive. In that moment, she was a true succubus. Jax's breathing became ragged, and the tips of his ears flushed a deep, telltale pink. God, they were in public. There were so many people watching. My dear, possessive wife, could we maybe exercise a little restraint? Jax's body tensed as he felt one of Lilith's hands slide under his white shirt, gently resting on his chest. Jax let out a muffled groan as blood rushed to his head. "Lily, stop fooling around. Be good." His voice trembled as he tried to stop her, but he knew all too well that he was powerless against her beauty. Nathan watched the scene unfold, his mind screaming, "Just give in, Mr. Pierce. Your body is betraying you. Don't think I can't see what's happening down there. Besides, Ms. Astor has always been domineering. This is her family's property. With a single word, she could clear this place out so completely not even an ant would be left. However, in the next moment, Lilith raised an eyebrow, dropped her arms from Jax's shoulders, and stepped back. To everyone's astonishment, she stood up straight, like a well-behaved child, and her voice became as gentle as water. Okay, Jax wants me to be good, so I'll be good. Nathan. Mr. Grant. Sam. Holy crap, did my boy Jax just overthrow the tyrant and become a master? Everyone else, hiss. Is that really Ms. Aster? Has she been possessed by something? Jax was pleasantly shocked. Since his rebirth, he had slowly grown accustomed to Lilith's doting on him, but he knew her true nature all too well. Sometimes, just stroking her hair made his heart pound like a drum. Damn, he was really getting bold. He was actually daring to touch the Demoness hair. Babe, what should we do with him? Jax asked, feeling a rush of satisfaction from Lilith's doting behavior. He couldn't help but feel a little smug and decided to test the waters, calling her babe to see if he could please his possessive heiress even more. He had learned her patterns over this time. As long as he was soft with her, as long as he was willing to cherish and love her, Lilith was more obedient than anyone. Sure enough, when Jax called her babe, it was as if a brilliant fireworks display had erupted in her clear, cold, dark eyes. Jax called her babe because she was being obedient and good. A small smile tugged at the corners of Lilith's lips. Bury him. What to do with someone who bullied Jax? Make them disappear from his sight forever, of course. It was simple. Logan was still wailing on the floor, but when he heard those words, his cries instantly stopped. Logan was terrified. Who is this woman? Her presence is so powerful. She's so impossibly noble. Yet she's completely obedient to Jax? Is she the rich heiress who's keeping him? But she's so young and beautiful, with a bombshell figure. What kind of luck did Jax stumble into? This is impossible. Why would an Ice Queen heiress like her keep a broke nobody like Jax? What's so special about him? So he's handsome, tall, has a decent body, and looks a little classy. Rich women can't be that shallow, can they? They should pick men with potential. Like him. No, please don't. Miss, my name is Logan Holt. Whatever Jax can give you, I have it too. Please spare me. I'll do anything for you. Be your slave. Logan's defenses shattered. He was under attack, body and soul. He was broken. You're ugly, Lilith said without even giving him a second glance. My Jax is beautiful. Burying you will keep you from polluting our eyes. She gave a slight lift of her hand, and Nathan understood her command. Trash like this wasn't worthy of Ms. Aster dirtying her own hands. Jax's heart skipped a beat at Lilith's words, and a genuine warmth filled his eyes as he looked at her. Logan, not accepting his fate, tried to scream again, but Nathan was too fast. He clamped a hand over Logan's mouth and knocked him out with a swift blow to the back of the head. The other bodyguards, well-trained and efficient, tossed him into a black body bag. They grabbed the bottom of the bag and dragged Logan's corpse away to be buried. The movements were swift, the posture professional. The real question was, what was with this seamless, expert-level one-stop service? The remaining people were escorted out in an orderly fashion. Soon, only Jax and Lilith were left in the jewelry store. Jax stood in front of the sofa, swallowing nervously. He hadn't done anything wrong today, had he? Just as he was wondering what to do, Lilith's pliant body once again molded itself to his, pressing him down onto the sofa behind him. Her hand suddenly took his, guiding it up her long, slender leg. The feel of the silk, smooth and dangerously seductive. Jax panicked. The sensation was like holding a hot potato. He didn't dare touch any further. Babe, what are you doing? Lilith leaned over him, her gaze intense, her eyes shimmering with a bewitching, sinful light. Her silk-clad legs, ending in red-soled stiletto heels, dangled and swung gently over the edge of the sofa. She bit her lip, and the intoxicating scent of a beautiful woman wrapped itself around his heart. Oh my God, who taught her to be so seductive? It's like she flipped a switch and went into full succubus mode. And I'm completely under her dominant, possessive control. Jax, do you like this outfit? Lilith whispered, leaning closer. Her long, narrow eyes glinted with a cold light, reflecting his own face, which was flushed red all the way to his neck. Does Chloe Vance look better like this, or do I? The realization dawned on Jax. So, Lily was jealous? But had Chloe ever dressed so alluringly? Not that it mattered. No matter how Chloe dressed, she could never compare to Lilith's figure and breathtaking face. Babe, you're overthinking it. I've never seen Chloe dress like this, he said quickly. Ahem. But you, Lily, you look absolutely stunning. Who could understand? Sometimes Lilith was a dark, gothic Lolita in an elaborate dress, innocent yet wicked. Other times, she was a sharp, commanding presence in a silk blouse and custom suit. And now, a silk dress with black stockings. Like a proud heiress cosplaying a succubus. Who wouldn't want a wife with so many sides? As for him, he had certainly developed a taste for it. He loved it. MMM. How stunning, she purred. Show me Jax. Will you? On the Kingston University forums, one trending post after another shot to the top of the page, all revolving around a single topic. Who exactly is the rich woman keeping Jackson Pierce? Of course, the posts were filled with blurry screenshots from the live stream. When it came to reaction speed, a college student with 20 years of being single had reflexes that were second to none. The pinned post featured a photo captured in the 1 second the live stream camera had unintentionally panned over the scene. In the image, a woman in a forbiddingly alluring black dress clung perfectly to her figure. Though blurry, her hourglass curves were unmistakable, as were the tantalizing appeal of her black stockings and red-soled heels. The woman's pose was even more daring and dominant. Her arm was wrapped forcefully around the neck of a young man in a white shirt, compelling him to look down at her. The refined young man, also just a blurry silhouette, created a feeling of intense, forbidden romance. It was like the white moonlight of a campus drama being ensnared by a demon. A relationship torn and conflicted, utterly captivating. The current popular aesthetic definitely had a taste for the unhinged. The prevailing sentiment was, a healthy relationship is nice, but a twisted one is absolutely spectacular. OMG, is this woman the rich benefactor keeping Jax? She's no old hag. She's my dynastic ice queen. I'm not saying who's drooling right now, but is a body that perfect even real? A full bust and a tiny waist at the same time? And the heiress is so slender, but her presence is so intense. Just listen to how tragically Logan Holt was screaming. It was probably fake, though, just to get her attention. Sounded like someone was chopping off his hand. He's the one who attacked Jax first. Am I the only one who noticed that Zenith International Plaza is owned by the top-tier Astor family? And Jax said he was the owner of the plaza? Does that mean the person he's with is? Could it be someone from the Astor family? Impossible. I heard the Astor heiress is cruel, cold-blooded, and a terrifying monster that people fear just hearing her name. A monster with a heart that venomous must be hideous. How could she be a stunning ice queen with a bombshell body? I think she's probably the wife of some high-level Astor Group director. And Jax is just a boy toy kept by a rich, married woman. Holy, is this a Mrs. Robinson situation? Damn, Jax, you homewrecker. She's a married woman. All right, Jax, you can stop being a pretty boy now. Let me sub in for you for a couple of days. Your mental states are all exactly to my liking. Are there any fanfic writers here? I'll give you 30 minutes. I need to ship this forbidden couple so hard I die. Ahem, is this what they call the married woman and the wild road ship? I have to say, Jax's body is amazing. You can just tell he could lift that heiress up, and I have to admit, since his glow-up, Jax is insanely handsome. I think he's even better looking than the official campus heartthrob. Right now, I'd love to interview Chloe Vance about her mental state. After her lapdog transformed into a total hunk, does she regret not seeing the handsome face under his tragic emo haircut sooner? LOL, being handsome doesn't pay the bills. You women are so shallow. At the end of the day, Jax is just a boy toy who can't be seen in the light of day. Just wait until the heiress's husband finds out and comes to the university to beat the crap out of this male mistress. The forum posts exploded one after another. It was undeniable. Jackson Pierce had become the hottest campus celebrity at Kingston University. Of course, there were also posts predicting his downfall, announcing that he was participating in the National Collegiate Research Competition, which was met with a chorus of sneers. After reading the posts, Chloe Vance sat in her dorm room, digging her nails into her palms to stop herself from running to find Jax. This time, she got a clear look at the woman in the screenshot. That black dress and stockings. She had worn a similar outfit, but her body wasn't as explosive as her Aunt Lilith's, and her legs weren't as slender. She had always been proud of how she looked in that outfit, but seeing Lilith in an almost identical getup, she was hit with a wave of inferiority, feeling like she couldn't even compare to a single one of her toes. She was Chloe Vance, the queen of Kingston University. If Jax couldn't have her, it was because he wasn't worthy. But now, the same Jax she wouldn't even let touch her hand was being treated like a precious treasure by a woman more beautiful, with a better body, and with more money and power than her. The disparity was driving her insane. No, Jax didn't deserve it. His only role was to be her lovesick puppy, forever chasing her and never receiving her favor. Chloe swept a pile of expensive cosmetics, gifts from her various admirers, off her desk, venting her frustration. Suddenly, her phone rang. Seeing the familiar name, she quickly composed herself and answered in a gentle voice. Caleb, what can I do for you? The faculty advisor already notified you about the National Collegiate Research Competition? Yes. Jax's manuscript is almost finished, just missing one last part. I have all the data and the draft right here. I'll send it to you now. Jax. I'm gonna make you come crawling back to me, right back to being my lapdog. Author has entered the chat. Mian. Is anyone there? Begging for updates. Begging for comments. Begging for tips. A triple threat would be best. Pressed beneath Lilith's soft body, Jax was tense all over, terrified she would throw caution to the wind and take him right here and now. But honestly, he was spent. Ahem. Lily, we need to pace ourselves, he managed, his voice strained. We just refilled. It hasn't even digested yet. Tonight. Okay. Jax looked up at the possessive beauty so close to him. He had to admit, Lilith's seductive allure was soul-stealing, but his body was just short of raising a white flag. This was getting hard to handle. Don't be scared. I won't eat you now, Lilith murmured, her eyelids fluttering. She was like a black serpent slowly retracting its fangs. The touch of her skin against his both silky and cool. I want a hug. Jax nodded, sitting up and pulling the woman from on top of him into his arms, wrapping his hands around her waist. Lilith had a powerful presence, but against Jax's clear height advantage, she seemed small and dependent. She nestled obediently in his arms, her warm breath ghosting across his neck, ticklish and sending a shiver of pleasure through him. Jax stood up, scooping her into his arms bridal style. Lilith was so thin, carrying her was effortless. The lack of any real weight made his brow furrow. It seemed he would have to personally nurse his possessive wife back to health, at least to a normal, healthy weight. Lily, I promise to cook for you tonight. I'll take you to the supermarket, and we can pick out the ingredients together, okay? Like a normal couple, experiencing the simple, everyday warmth of married life. Jax was certain Lilith had never experienced anything like it. Sure enough, the next moment Lilith wrapped her arms around his neck, her eyes lighting up with a warm, crystalline glow. There was curiosity and warmth in them, like a little girl who had finally gotten her candy, so easily pleased. Jax, can I really cook with you? She asked, her clear eyes blinking with a hint of worry. But I've never cooked before. I'm afraid I'll mess up our first time. In the past, Jax had never allowed her to do anything with him. Even when he was deliberately destroying priceless plants in the garden, and Lilith tried to help him with her blood-red sickle, he had refused. He had told her, Lilith, you don't deserve to enjoy any couple's activities with me. Everything I have is for Chloe, and I will only do couple things with Chloe. Give up. Of course, the price for his defiance was being chained to the bed that night while Lilith stripped off her nightgown in front of him. Jax could refuse to engage in any small couple activities with her, but in bed, she demanded he be with her, and only her. Even if they did nothing, she would press herself against him like a terminally ill patient, frantically drawing in his unique scent. She had even wanted to become a leech, to burrow into his flesh, drink his fresh blood, and become one with him. Lilith was dangerously obsessed. The more Jax resisted, the more unhinged she became. They rarely had normal conversations or interactions. Every encounter threatened to tear Moonshadow estate apart. People say if you love someone, you should set them free. But in Lilith's dictionary, if you love someone, you lock them in the basement and feed them through a small hole in the door until they love you back. Jax had once been terrified of Lilith, but now he was trying to accept this unique part of her. His wife just had a stronger possessive streak than most girlfriends, and she was a bit clingier. For an Ice Queen heiress as rich, powerful, beautiful, and well-built as Lilith to favor him, it should be his honor. Was he running from? Shouldn't he just lie back and accept it? Don't worry. I'll be the chef. My wife just needs to stand by and watch me, Jax said, carrying Lilith out of the store. The moment they stepped out of the jewelry shop, he saw the bodyguards, including Nathan, staring at him with a mixture of terror and awe. They quickly pretended to be busy, looking away, acting as if they'd seen nothing. Oh God, we saw nothing. Oh my God, Ms. Astor is an Ice Queen, possessive heiress. Her methods are ruthless and domineering. But right now, she's letting Jax carry her, and she looks so obedient and gentle. Is that really our Ms. Astor? What foul spirit has possessed her? Get out of our mistress's body. Nathan, clear the area, Lilith commanded, letting Jax carry her. She enjoyed this feeling of depending on him. Even if he was just acting, she was winning. Lilith had always known how to get what she wanted. She wanted all of Jax, all the warmth and tenderness of a couple, and she would use any means necessary to get him to treat her that way. Now that he was taking the initiative, whatever his motive, Lilith was going to enjoy this moment. In 5 minutes, the entire mall had been cleared for them. Jax was stunned. He had to admit, the efficiency of the top family, the Astor Group, was impressive. When they reached the supermarket, Jax got a clean, new shopping cart. He grabbed a cushion from the home goods section and placed Lilith inside the cart. Like an ordinary couple, Jax pushed the cart with the woman inside, weaving through the aisles and methodically picking out the ingredients they needed. In the high-end import supermarket, all the produce was incredibly fresh. Jax selected a large cut of prime beef brisket and a steak, then picked out fresh vegetables and various cooking essentials. Of course, he didn't put any of it in the cart. He tossed everything into the arms of Nathan, who was trailing dutifully behind them. Nathan thought, I will truly be grateful for this. But the young mistress looked so happy. Today was the most relaxed he had ever seen her, and she had smiled more times than in all the time he had been by her side combined. Fine. His suffering was worth it. Jax, what's this? Jax, this looks fun. Is it edible? Jax, what about this one? Lilith was like a curious child, showing extreme fascination with things that most people took for granted. To an ordinary person, it would seem exaggerated. But Lilith had rarely encountered these things. When she was young, the ingredients she ate were artistic creations, carefully selected and carved by chefs. What looked like a piece of carrot might have been carved from a pear. As a result, she had never seen these ingredients in their natural state. Jax had already bought everything they needed, but he continued to push Lilith around the supermarket, patiently explaining all the mundane items to her. For a moment, Jax had the heretical thought that he was actually more knowledgeable than Ms. Lilith Astor. Ahem, of course, that was just a delusion. Lilith was like a little girl full of curiosity about the world, tilting her head happily as she waited for Jax's gentle and detailed explanations. In truth, she wasn't interested in the items themselves. What she loved was the way Jax gently explained things to her. The man she had chosen was so charming. Finally, they reached a corner of the supermarket with a small first aid section. Jax had worked part-time in a mall before and expertly located a first aid kit. His gaze fell on the black silk glove Lilith was wearing, intentionally hiding the wound on her palm. He had only just noticed the bloodstain on his own white shirt, so Lilith was injured. The blood had seeped through the silk glove, but it was impossible to see. Lilith had a penchant for wearing black and blood red. That way, if she did something bad, no one would notice right away. Lily, take off the glove, Jack said in a commanding tone. The nearby bodyguards felt their scalps tingle. Save us. Has this boy toy lost his mind? He's just a plaything for the young mistress's amusement, and he dares to order her around? Does he have a death wish? Just as their hearts were pounding, they saw Ms. Lilith Astor pout her red lips in a gesture of proud grievance. Jax, please don't, okay? But Jax's expression turned serious, and he firmly refused. No, you have to take it off. Be good, Lily. The wound will get infected if you cover it, and that will hurt me. Jax used a combination of hard and soft tactics, and Lilith surrendered. A bright light appeared in Lilith's eyes. Jax looks so handsome when he's being fierce, and he's so handsome when he's being doting and gentle. He stole my heart. Humph. She was obeying involuntarily. It had nothing to do with his sweet-talking or seduction. Nathan covered his face. My God, Ms. Astor, can you please wipe the drool from the corner of your mouth? You've already got the man. How can you still be so easily captivated? Okay, I'll listen to you, Jax. But I want a kiss as a reward. Jax glanced around. My God, the dozen bodyguards once again displayed their acting talents, instantly busying themselves. One bodyguard turned and, with a deadpan expression, poked a fresh pork but in the meat section. The woman at the scale stared at him, her expression complicated. The bodyguard? Ma'am, let me explain. Although the customers had been cleared out, the supermarket staff were still there, all busy with their work from a safe distance. In reality, their gossiping hearts were beating wildly. They all wished they had 7 pairs of eyes and 8 pairs of ears to get the first-hand scoop. Jax naturally noticed the gossipy glances from not only the bodyguards, but also the staff as they moved around the store. He was a bit embarrassed. Excessive public displays of affection, especially in front of so many people, still made him shy, but he underestimated how bold Lilith could be. Seeing his hesitation, the woman in the cart suddenly grabbed the collar of his shirt, pulled him down, and her red lips brushed past the white fabric before landing firmly on the thin lips she had been coveting for so long. His heart pounded like a drum. Her lips were like a fragrant, poisonous poppy. Once tasted, impossible to resist. Jax, more than eating the meat you cook, I'd rather eat you. My Jax, you're just too delicious to resist. After a fierce kiss, Lilith playfully nipped his earlobe, her breath hot and seductive, once again leaving Jax dazed and confused. However, the next moment, Lilith felt a sudden sense of weightlessness as Jax scooped her up by the waist. Jax, looking flustered and annoyed, placed her on a bench in the first aid area and ripped the silk glove from her right hand. You're being ridiculous. Lilith's mischievous desire instantly subsided, and she sat obediently. But her gaze, like that of a dark serpent, quietly swept over the tips of the young man's ears. TSK, they're crimson. They must be hot to the touch too, right? Mimian, ahem, this chapter is so sweet, what do you all think? Jax stiffly and skillfully treated Lilith's hand. In his past life, he had been injured so many times that he had become an expert at first aid. He was also incredibly observant. Judging from the angle of the wound, Lilith had done this to herself. Had Lily had another episode? Is that why she was self-harming? Jax remained silent. After bandaging Lilith's hand, he quietly took her other hand and led her out of the mall. The ride back was silent. Lilith stole several glances at Jax, a flicker of guilt in her eyes. She wiggled her fingers. The bandage Jax had wrapped was so tight it felt like her right hand was crippled. Back at Moonshadow Estate, Jax walked directly into the kitchen with the groceries, not waiting for Lilith or even looking back at her. Nathan thought, save me. I have a feeling the sky is about to fall again. Maybe I should go keep Mr. Sterling company now? They say serving a monarch is like sleeping with a tiger. Well, being by Ms. Astor's side is way more thrilling than Mr. Sterling feeding the general. Jax was a little angry. Lilith's habit of self-harm needed to be dealt with. He had to teach her a lesson to make her stop. Otherwise, no matter how much he tried to nurse her back to health, she would just undo all his work. In the Pierce family, his second sister, Madison, was a doctor obsessed with the healing properties of traditional medicinal cuisine. She was also the pickiest eater in the family, demanding not only exquisite taste, but also the utmost freshness and health benefits from her food. To create medicinal meals that met her standards, Jax had spent the first 3 years of his 4 years back with the Pierce family, secretly honing his cooking and medicinal cuisine skills. Eventually, he earned praise from the entire family, and even the notoriously critical Madison couldn't help but compliment his cooking. At the time, he had felt proud, believing that earning the favor of his usually cold sister was a testament to his efforts. He had naively thought that if he made delicious medicinal food, she might show him a little more care and affection as a brother. But it was only before his death in his past life that he learned from Caleb that while Madison was indeed picky, her relentless research into making delicious and healthy medicinal food wasn't for herself. She had done it all for the frail Caleb, trying to create nourishing and tasty meals for him since he was a child. The brother Madison truly loved was, and always had been, Caleb. His 3 years of tireless effort were nothing but a joke, the performance of a clown. Yet he had been kept in the dark, secretly delighting in a word of praise from his sister one day, a perfunctory inquiry about his well-being the next. But that kind of concern was something Caleb received every day. Jax had only fought so desperately for it, because he never got it. In reality, everyone was probably laughing at what a fool he was. Jax's thoughts swirled. He was only thinking of Madison because he was planning to make a nourishing meal for Lily. As for the Pierce family, he felt nothing for them anymore. But as if on cue, his phone rang. It was an unknown number. Acting on instinct, he immediately hung up and blocked the number. A moment later, another unknown number called. Jax repeated the block. By the 5th time, Jax's patience wore thin. Annoyed by the incessant ringing, he finally answered. As expected, a familiar female voice came through, filled with accusation and reprimand. Jackson, it's your sister, Madison. If you dare block me again, I'll beep beep beep. Jax, without missing a beat, hung up and blocked her again. Sister? Sounded like she was about to lay into him like the other Pierce sisters. But he was under no obligation to listen to her lectures anymore. It would just ruin his mood. On the other end of the line, Madison was stunned. She had assumed Jax didn't know it was her, which was why she had to resort to using her colleagues' phones one by one to call him back. Finally, he picked up. She had announced her identity, first to prevent him from blocking her again. Yet, just as she was about to launch into her tirade, the call was disconnected. She quickly redialed, only to find she had been blocked again. So, Jax had known it was her all along. Madison, standing in her medical lab, felt her face darken as a complex, frustrating emotion filled her. She had just finished a sealed experiment for a new drug and hadn't been home in a while. The moment she was out, she got a call from her family. Her mother, Eleanor, had given her a full rundown of Jax's rebellious behavior over the past few days. Madison couldn't take it anymore and immediately called Jax to chew him out. But, listening to the busy tone, she couldn't believe it. Jax had blocked her. She stubbornly tried one number after another, but the result was the same. No, this was impossible. At home, Jax had always listened to her the most. He would never defy her, let alone block her. She was confident of that. Undeterred, Madison dialed one last time. This time it connected again. Jackson, I don't care who you are. I'm your daddy, got it? Stop bothering me. Madison. Author has entered the chat. Mian, a new book without update requests is like a pile of sand. In the emergency room, Jax had swaggered out, leaving behind the Pierce family and medical staff drenched in pig's blood. Jackson is insane. Does he think he can insult his own mother just because he's latched onto that Astor family monster? He's a rebel. I should have strangled him at birth before he could cause all this trouble. It would have been a service to society. Eleanor Pierce was furious. She was a high society woman, accustomed to attending exclusive events in designer clothes. When had she ever been so humiliated? As expected, anything involving that Jinx Jackson Pierce ended in disaster for her. Mom, are you okay? It's all my fault, Caleb said, standing up. He too was covered in the sticky, foul-smelling blood. If my health wasn't so poor that I needed backup blood for even conservative treatment, we wouldn't have had to ask Jax to come and donate. Mom, please don't blame him. He must be suffering so much, taking my place with Ms. Astor. If bullying me makes him feel better, I can endure any amount of suffering. Just please, don't upset yourself. I won't be able to rest if I'm worried about you. Though Jax had called it fresh blood, any blood quickly spoils once it leaves a living body, emitting a foul odor over time. The entire emergency room now reeked of it. It was nauseating. Morgan Pierce, the eldest sister, was the first to break. Her OCD was severe, and she wanted nothing more than to rip off her blood-soaked clothes right there. But with so many people around, she had to endure it. She felt as if insects were crawling all over her skin. Finally, she couldn't take it anymore. Mom, I'll leave this to you. I can't stand being this filthy or this smell for another second. She then glanced at Caleb, who was standing there perfectly fine, delivering a heartfelt speech to their mother instead of undergoing surgery. He didn't look that sick, did he? A thoughtful and complex expression flickered in Morgan's eyes before she turned and strode out of the ER on her high heels. In the past, Morgan would have overcome her aversion to filth to hug Caleb, always making an exception for him. But today, for some reason, she suddenly found herself scrutinizing her younger brother. Was everything he told her the truth? If even his severe illness was a lie, how many of his other words could be trusted? Morgan paused for a moment. She walked over to Caleb, her voice filled with concern. Caleb, I heard everything just now. Why didn't you tell me you were switching to conservative treatment? Does the doctor you found have enough experience and academic backing for this procedure? It was concern on the surface, but a test underneath. As the eldest sister, she had always been responsible for her younger siblings and had been deeply involved in every detail of Caleb's illness. Her question made Caleb's heart tighten, but to their mother, Eleanor, it was just a heartwarming scene of sibling affection. Morgan, don't you worry. Your grandmother and I have always put Caleb's health first. As for a reliable doctor, since Caleb said your grandmother approved, you could be sure they're the best in the field. Mom knows Caleb stayed up for weeks working on that financial plan for you, solving a major crisis for your career, and he collapsed from exhaustion afterward. You feel guilty, I know, but he's your brother. Caleb told me he insisted on helping you because you're the sister he admires and respects the most. Seeing you two so close puts my mind at ease. So Morgan, don't you worry. Go change your clothes. Eleanor stepped in, conveniently rescuing Caleb. But Morgan had caught the scent of something fishy when Caleb hadn't answered immediately. Could there really be some hidden secret here? Morgan's eyes narrowed, but Eleanor's mention of Caleb helping her through her crisis made her heart soften. She felt a pang of guilt for even suspecting Caleb might be faking his illness. Yes, Caleb was so pure and kind. He would do anything for her. How could she doubt such a brilliant and caring brother? Caleb, you just focus on getting better. As for Jax demanding money from you, leave it to your big sister to handle. Hearing this, Caleb quickly stopped her. Big sis, you're already swamped with company matters. Don't worry, Jax is just angry at us for a little while. See? He caused a scene, but he didn't actually do anything to us. That means he's still soft-hearted and remembers our old bond. We're brothers. I can't always hide behind my sisters and mom. The doctor just gave me acupuncture. and I'm already feeling much better. I could be discharged today. Caleb talked Morgan down. When it came to confronting Jax, he always preferred to do it himself. He wanted to personally watch him be tortured into becoming a complete outcast. People from the lower class like Jax should have never come back to compete with him for what was rightfully his. He wasn't worthy, and he didn't have the ability to take anything away. Speaking of Jax, he's created a huge problem for me. He's going to Kingston tomorrow, right? I'll go with you to find him personally. The malicious breach of the company's database. It has to be his doing. Morgan's eyes grew colder, her disgust for Jax deepening. Back at Moonshadow Estate, Jax blocked the last number and, to avoid further harassment, turned off his phone and tossed it aside. He put on an apron and got busy in the kitchen. The young man had broad shoulders, a narrow waist, and long legs. A few bloodstains marred his white shirt, as if someone had deliberately and maliciously dirted the pure white, leaving the mark and scent of a wrongdoer. To Lilith's eyes, the image was incredibly seductive. Lilith leaned against the kitchen doorway, obeying Jax's command to stand aside and not help, but her gaze grew hotter and hotter. "Jax, your waist. It's so firm," she purred, her eyes wandering to her area of interest. "Have you been working out?" She had to admit, Jax's physique was superb, the type that looked lean in clothes but was muscular underneath. Abs, pecs, long legs. He had it all, but not in an exaggerated way. It was just enough to create a sense of forbidden allure, making one want to touch. It was all hidden beneath his white shirt, like desires concealed under the calm surface of a river. Seemingly tranquil, but with turbulent currents below. Even the way he breathed was incredibly sexy. Jax, who was cutting meat for a stir-fry, nearly sliced his own finger. This kind of intimate topic was not for the kitchen, was it? Besides, he was still sulking. "Do not engage." Seeing no response, Lilith approached him on her red-soled heels and, with a slender fingertip, suddenly poked him there. "Jax, why didn't you answer me? It feels quite solid when I poke it. Are you sure you haven't been secretly working out?" From a woman's appreciative perspective, Jax's body was flawless. It had to be said, Chloe Vance wasn't entirely without taste when she kept him on a string as a lapdog. Back then, even though Jax dressed like an emo kid with a terrible sense of style, when he wore a simple oversized t-shirt and loose sweatpants that hid his face, he had the exact vibe of the popular shrimp body boyfriend trend online. "Lilith, keep your hands to yourself," Jax said, a vein throbbing in his temple. He quickly moved away to escape her demonic clutches. "You're a woman, not a pervert." He also secretly marveled at his own audacity, daring to call the demoness by her full name. Since his rebirth, Jax had always used pet names like Lily, Babe, Wifey, or Honey. He knew that placating his possessive wife was key, but he had almost forgotten that in his past life he never called her by her name either, usually resorting to insults born of extreme humiliation. Demoness, psycho, lunatic, and monster. Phew, he had really gotten spoiled by the demoness affection. His courage had grown. "Jax, I'm being very good," Lilith said, obediently retracting her hand. She looked like a little girl who had intentionally caused trouble to get an adult's attention and then played innocent after succeeding. Jax thought he saw a hint of cuteness on Lilith's face. TSK, it was adorable. Was this still Lilith? It felt like a dream. "Yes, my Lily is so good," Jax said, once again stroking the demoness' hair, his movements growing more practiced and familiar. "Okay, dinner is almost ready. Go sit down. I'll come join you after I finish this last dish." As he worked, the sky outside darkened. The evening glow was a rich blend of orange and pink, casting a blissful hue over the entire Moonshadow estate. Jax's culinary skills were on full display. He made 4 dishes and a soup, each one a showstopper. Soon, the aroma wafted from the open kitchen door, tempting the taste buds of everyone in the estate. Nathan, being the closest, had watched Jax braise the beef brisket, feeling like he was watching an episode of A Bite of Moonshadow Estate. The finest ingredients often require the simplest cooking methods. The scent floated through the estate, making everyone's mouth water. Nathan secretly drooled. "Sob, I'm so jealous. The young mistress eats so well." "Lily, your stomach isn't good, so you should eat less raw food, or better yet, none at all. From now on, eat more hot dishes. You can tell me what kind of cuisine you want, and I'll make it for you personally," Jax said, standing by the dining table and gently fixing a slightly messy strand of Lilith's hair. His eyes filled with adoration. Since he was her husband, he would love her for a lifetime. He would never let her walk down the path of destruction from their past life again. But as he leaned in, Lilith, who was seated, suddenly wrapped her arms around his waist and buried her face in his chest. The possessive beauty whispered, "What am I going to do if you're this good, Jax? I'm becoming more and more inseparable from you." The words were a subtle test. Lilith was already reveling in the sense of accomplishment from completely occupying Jax's heart and mind. But how long would it last this time? She wanted to know where the line was. She wanted him to keep up the act for much, much longer this time. "Then we'll never be separated," Jax said, each word deliberate and serious. "Lily, we're husband and wife. You don't have to be afraid of me deceiving you again. I'll prove with my actions that the rest of my life belongs to my Lily." Nathan, standing by the table, was about to cry from hunger. But after hearing Jax's promise, he couldn't help but roll his eyes internally. "Jax, if I hadn't personally captured you from the mountains outside Moonshadow Estate dozens of times, I would have almost believed you." Lilith studied Jax's sincere expression, her heart feeling as if it had been stuffed with honey. But she didn't dare to believe it. She didn't want to believe it anymore. Her eyes suddenly turned cold and dark, as if her earlier obedient and cute demeanor had been an illusion. The real Lilith was a cruel, bloodthirsty monster who lived in the shadows. The security she needed wasn't Jax's promises. It was holding his head, clutching his neck while they kissed, a desperate entanglement. It was a fusion of souls. It was an undisguised possessiveness. It was a desire to crush each other into a single, exclusive entity. It was a mad, passionate, pathological obsession and control. But that would scare her little lamb of a husband. It would scare Jax away. So, pretense was necessary. Jax had been coaxing Lilith, but the obedient, endearingly different Ms. Aster in front of him was also, in her own way, coaxing him. She acted obediently only to stay entangled with him longer, to bind them tighter. "Jax, I believe you. Jax, I believe you for now." Lilith's eyes were extremely calm and rational, with the condescending air of someone watching a trapped animal perform in a cage. "All right, sit down and eat," Lilith said, pulling Jax's hand and gesturing for him to sit. As for the last dish, she shot Nathan a look. Nathan points to himself with a me expression, "Mr. Sterling, I miss you. Sincerely." Heart emoji. Jax sat down. He wasn't stupid. He could tell Lilith didn't believe his bullshit at all. As expected, you can't play with fire without getting burned. He was soaked. It would be a miracle if Lilith believed him. But he was also saying those words to himself. He would prove it to Lily with his actions. "Jax, you don't have to cook for me every day. You're my husband, not my servant. We have chefs for that. My appetite used to be poor, so I couldn't eat, but as long as you're here, I'll eat well. At Moonshadow Estate, you are the master here. You don't have to revolve around me. I know you have high ambitions. I respect your plans and dreams, and I can help you achieve them anytime. As long as you don't run, everything is negotiable." Lilith pulled Jax closer, their eyes meeting. Her commanding, frosty gaze was as cold and proud as an ice lotus in a snowy sea. She was offering him a deal, rather than his unexplained change of heart. She trusted more in the allure of the conditions she could offer. Jax stared into her eyes. They seemed emotionless, but he saw her lips tremble slightly. Ms. Aster was nervous. Nervous for him. That was enough. A smile suddenly spread across Jax's lips. Then, steeling himself for the first time, willingly and without any external coercion, he actively kissed Lilith. "Lily, since you said I'm the master of Moonshadow Estate, does that make me your master too? Can you call me that?" "The staff of Moonshadow Estate." Hiss. Is the young master insane? He definitely has a death wish. It's fine if he wants to die, but please don't take us with you. In the kitchen, Nathan, who was diligently but clumsily stir-frying, felt his spatula fly out of his hand. "Sigh, I might as well just toss myself in the wok and be done with it." Author has entered the chat. Mian, is anyone there? Begging for some free gifts, pretty please. Hearing Jax's words, Lilith leaned back in the plush European-style dining chair, as if she had no bones. She propped her head up with one hand, a slight curve at the corner of her eye, creating an effortlessly world-toppling allure. Her skin was porcelain white, and the rich, dark, modified silk dress made her graceful figure look like a venomous snake flicking its scarlet tongue. Her arms were smooth and fair, her skin glowing so brightly it outshone the deep twilight outside. Just her lounging there was enough to take one's breath away. That was the magic of Ms. Aster, noble and pristine, with danger hidden beneath. "Master," she purred, "are you trying to get on top of me, Jax?" An interesting idea, but I always prefer to be in control, especially when it comes to training you. That's non-negotiable." Lilith's half-closed, narrow eyes lifted, sweeping over him with a terrifying pressure. "Jax, I'm being good. Please let me go." Ahem. As expected of his wife, her presence was overwhelming. Jax had only said it to change the subject. Seeing it didn't work was within his expectations. He surrendered. All right, Lily, I won't get on top. You're the master. I'm your. Lilith raised an eyebrow, the chilling pressure in her eyes finally receding. She pulled him down to sit and reached out to ruffle his short hair, a smile touching her eyes. Good boy. Jax, we're eating. If this keeps up, I'm afraid Lilith will get worked up and decide to eat me instead. So he quickly changed the subject again. Lily, come on, try my cooking. I've had my soup, but I haven't tasted my own dishes. I don't know your preferences, so I made a dish from several different cuisines for you to try. Jax had studied cooking extensively and was proficient in all major culinary styles, producing top-tier flavors. It was because of this skill that whenever the Pierce family hosted important guests, his 5 sisters or mother would order him into the kitchen to prepare a banquet. The guests would always shower him with praise, complimenting the Pierce family's amazing chef and even trying to poach him. But these moments, which would normally make any parent proud, only made Eleanor feel ashamed. A son from the countryside who couldn't hold his own in high society was only good for slaving away in the kitchen, a woman's chore. She felt her disdain for Jax deepen. She would never mention who cooked the food, instead downplaying it. He's just a chef from the countryside. It's a stroke of luck that his food is even edible. For you to like it is the blessing of his lifetime. At that moment, Jax had just walked out of the kitchen, inevitably stained with grease. Compared to the formal attire of his sisters and parents who were entertaining the guests in the main hall, he looked quite disheveled. He was about to ask if the guests liked the food when Eleanor blocked his path. Shouldn't you be in the kitchen preparing after-dinner tea and snacks? What are you doing standing here? This is not where you belong. Jax froze, staring at Eleanor's face, the face of a gentle and elegant high society madam. For a moment, she seemed like a complete stranger, but he held on to one last sliver of hope. Mom, I just wanted to ask if the food was to your liking. I noticed second sister's appetite has been poor lately, so I prepared a few appetizers. Eleanor's expression soured further, silently blaming Jax for embarrassing her. But on the surface, she maintained her gentle demeanor. It was delicious. Jax, you did a great job. Everyone loved it. So, would you be a dear and make some dessert for us now, please? Jax felt as if his feet were nailed to the floor. She was his biological mother, yet she had never called him by his name affectionately. But now, to get rid of him, to stop him from embarrassing her, she had called him Jax for the first time. Just then, Caleb walked over, affectionately taking Eleanor's arm. He was poised and polite. Mom, Mrs. Lou is looking for you. Eleanor's face softened again as she patted Caleb's hand fondly. My Caleb is always so sensible and obedient. The words were clearly meant for Jax to hear. He had just come to check, and he had become disobedient and troublesome in her eyes. Jax left in a daze, but he still went back to the kitchen to whip up some desserts. He felt so pathetic, like a dog begging for scraps of affection from his family. After his adoptive parents sent him back to the Pierce family, they had completely cut off contact. Where else could he go? Besides, in this family, his second sister and his second uncle had been good to him. There was always someone healing him. Snapping back to the present, Jax pushed those unpleasant memories away. He used a serving spoon to pick up a piece of tenderly stewed beef brisket. He carefully blew on it until it was just the right temperature before preparing to place it in Lilith's bowl. But by now, Lilith was already staring at him, her eyes shining with a commanding presence. Feed me. Jax thought. A possessive heiress's moods really are unpredictable. What could he do? She was his wife. He had to spoil her. Jax brought the brisket to Lilith's lips and couldn't help but add, Lily, from now on, I'll be supervising your meals. I saw a meme online. 9 out of 10 CEOs have stomach problems. It seems that applies to female CEOs too. From now on, I'll take care of your stomach. As he spoke, he carefully fed Ms. Asked her another bite of rice. Eating brisket alone could be too rich. A bit of rice balanced it out, creating a flavor explosion. Sure enough, Lilith, who had been lazily lounging in her chair, sat up straight, like a proud white lioness that had just tasted her favorite meat. Her eyes suddenly lit up with a brilliant surprise. Lilith's eyes widened, and she didn't hold back her praise. Jax's cooking is so good, so delicious. The possessive heiress's crisis was averted, and she transformed into a soft, cuddly calico cat. Seeing Lilith's cheeks stuffed with rice, looking like a little hamster, Jax's eyes filled with joy and satisfaction. For a chef, the approval of the taster is the greatest reward. Poor Nathan, after fumbling in the kitchen for a while, finally emerged with his semi-finished product. He had tried to make beef with green peppers, but the dish he brought out had only 2 colors, the white of the plate and the black of the food. Ms. Asked her, if you asked me to off someone, I could do it one by one. But cooking, I'm really not good at it. Lilith glanced at the dish and then looked away in disgust. Useless. Then, she turned back to Jax, her eyes filled with praise and admiration. She beckoned to him. Jax, I want more. Your cooking is so good, so amazing. The food you make is better than anything I've ever eaten. Lilith praised him from the bottom of her heart. She was truly happy today. She wanted to eat 3 bowls. Of course, with her appetite, she ended up eating 1.5 bowls of rice and most of the dishes. But that was enough to shock everyone at Moonshadow Estate again. Jax scratched his head, a little embarrassed, as he diligently fed his wife. He was starting to enjoy this feeling, the feeling of being acknowledged, admired, and loved. In his past life, he had been constantly belittled by the Pierce family, to the point that he was brainwashed into thinking that men who cooked were failures. But now, looking at Lilith's eyes, curved into happy crescents, he suddenly felt a sense of release. His cooking skills were not something to be ashamed of. They were a skill that could bring happiness to his family. Nathan pouted. To please the young master, Ms. Aster is really exaggerating. Is it really that good? If it is, I'll do a handstand and eat. Special Assistant Joe, you've been busy for a while. Sit down and have some with us, Jax invited. Chinese meals were all about liveliness. Besides, he really wanted to get on good terms with this stoic-faced man. I shouldn't. A sharp, cold glare from Lilith cut him off. All right, I'll sit, Nathan thought. You know, the secret to surviving around a possessive heiress is, be a coward, live a long life. Eat, she commanded. A single word, full of pressure. Jax quickly picked up his chopsticks. Oh, she's not ordering me. Nathan dutifully picked up a piece of brisket and put it in his mouth. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3. Enough, Lilith said. Stop acting. Jax blinked in confusion. Nathan swallowed the brisket, a look of pure bliss on his face, and then, with a deadpan expression, he uttered, 99%. A rare delicacy. Jax thought, enough. Moonshadow Estate is full of trolls. But wait, where was Mr. Sterling, that old schemer? Special Assistant Joe, why haven't I seen Mr. Sterling today? Usually, that old man was bustling around, his presence strongly felt at Moonshadow Estate. Oh, him? He's feeding the general. Nathan grabbed another piece of brisket. While he had been acting a bit, Jax's cooking was undeniably excellent. It made him drool. Feeding him to the general, Lilith elegantly wiped her mouth, now full and satisfied. The more she looked at Jax, the more delicious he seemed. Jax, so concerned about old Sterling. Perhaps you should be more concerned about yourself. Jax opened his eyes. The first thing he saw was a mess of tangled sheets and his own shirt and pants thrown on the floor. It seemed he had been eaten clean by the possessive heiress again last night. Just then, Lilith walked out of the bathroom. The motorized curtains opened automatically, and the golden morning light flooded the room, coating her in a halo. Today, Lilith was wearing a red silk robe, her long, fluffy, dark red curls cascading loosely over her shoulders. As she walked, the robe shifted, revealing glimpses of her bare, pale, slender back. The lines of her spine were like a snowy mountain range, disappearing into the tie at her narrow waist, a tantalizingly hidden landscape. She was barefoot, her feet pale and soft against the plush carpet, like jade on snow. It reminded him of the sensation of her foot on his chest last night. The image was too risque. Jax quickly looked away. He had to get up. He had class this morning. But as soon as he sat up, the vision in red was upon him. Lilith sat down on his lap without a hint of restraint, her arms circling his neck, her slender fingers playfully tracing his jawline. Her gaze, both languid and sharp, roamed over his face, his neck, his collarbones. Slowly downward. Ahem, Lily, if you don't get ready for the office, you'll be late, Jax said, trying to deflect. He knew that, at her core, Lilith was an extremely rational and time-conscious leader. As the CEO of the Aster Group, she always led by example, rarely letting personal matters interfere with her work. Of course, from his experience, the one person who could make her neglect her duties was usually him. When she was coming to capture him, to drag him back, imprison him, and torture him. No rush, she purred. Are you going to campus today, Jax? She sat in his lap like a queen, casually stroking her private pet. Yeah, I have class. Don't worry, Lily, I won't run. You can have people watch me, or you can implant a tracking chip in me. Whatever gives you peace of mind, I'm willing to do it, Jax said earnestly. He had to build his own career. He couldn't hide under Lilith's wing forever, enjoying her gifts. He was a man. His wife was brilliant, but he couldn't be a complete freeloader with no accomplishments of his own. I said I trust you, she murmured. and I won't go back on my word. But before you go, I need to leave my mark. Lilith's beautiful eyes sparkled. Her stunning features drew closer, her long neck intertwining with his, her waist-length red curls swaying with her movements. A sharp, yet strangely pleasant, tingling sensation pricked his neck. The woman's rosy lips were now stained with his blood, and a trace of it was on her sharp teeth. Lilith retracted her claws and nuzzled his face like a satisfied calico cat. Don't cover it up, she whispered. Your claim now. Only then did Lilith seem satisfied. She got up and changed into a business suit. Black stockings, long legs, a pencil skirt, a white blouse, red lips, red-soled heels. In her professional attire, Lilith was sharp and commanding, yet exuded an irresistible allure. Jax couldn't help but marvel. His wife was the most beautiful in every way, the pinnacle of womanhood. Aside from being a bit too thin, too clingy, and a possessive maniac, she was perfect. He stretched and got up to get ready. Today, he deliberately chose a less understated casual outfit. He was still a college student, after all. Tall and well-built, he was a walking mannequin. In the underground garage, Jax chose a Bugatti Veyron. He drove to another villa to pick up Sam, and the two headed to campus. This time, he wasn't being low-key. The cool, top-of-the-line supercar roared into the university early in the morning, its engine sound turning every head. My God, the rich woman keeping Jax is insane. Does she give him a new supercar every day? Am I the only one who thinks Jax is too arrogant? A male mistress acting like he's a big deal. If he's this high profile, he's going to get taken out by the woman's actual husband sooner or later. Hey, look. Chloe Vance is in a luxury car, too. Oh, wait, it's just a BMW. Don't say that. Our campus queen is so pure. She must have been forced to ride in a luxury car. I mean, compared to Jax's, her BMW 3 Series looks like a broken-down tricycle. Author has entered the chat. Mian, darlings, don't just save the story for later. A new book needs your support. Please request more chapters and send gifts. Chloe Vance sat in the BMW 3 Series, a gift the Pierce sisters had bought for Caleb on his birthday. It was the top-of-the-line model, worth well over $100,000. Caleb, Jax only gave me 3 days. Today is already the second day. Do you have the money ready? Chloe asked gently. Her features were delicate, her face seemingly free of makeup, clear and flawless. Her smile was as warm as the spring sun, giving off an air of innocence and beauty. Dressed in a simple white cotton dress, she looked gentle and pure, like a flower untouched by the mortal world, invoking a desire to protect her. As the reigning queen of Kingston University, she had earned her title. Of course, outside the university gates, that was another story. In the eyes of the upper class, beauty was hardly a scarce resource. It's just for a beat-up car, and Jax is demanding $500,000? He's taking advantage of you, Caleb said, a flicker of coldness in his eyes. Don't worry, Chloe. I got your back on this. I won't let Jax use someone else's power to extort $500,000 from us. His humiliation from the day before had deeply wounded his pride. He was a Pierce, always impeccably dressed and moving in high-end circles. He had never been so disgraced. He would make Jax pay for this. Hearing this, Chloe felt a pang of resentment. He's dragging his feet over a little money. Does he not think the benefits I bring him are worth even that much? Caleb, I think Jax already knows about us. You should probably drop me off here, Chloe said, a hint of pique in her voice. She opened the car door, about to head toward the academic building. Just then, the roar of a supercar, loud and arrogant, shattered the morning calm of the campus. Chloe's face paled. This was not good. Sure enough, a stunning Bugatti Veyron executed a move that was pure swagger, a powerful drift, coming to a halt precisely behind Caleb's BMW 3 Series. It was so close that another inch would have meant a rear-end collision. This was going to be a good show. The students, with their innate gossip senses, smelled drama. And sure enough, it was the new king of show-offs, Jackson Pierce. Today, he was even more handsome. His chiseled features were like those of an eagle in the night, cold, proud, and commanding. The high-quality casual clothes he wore exuded a powerful aura, projecting nobility and elegance. Everyone was in awe. Jackson Pierce had been completely reborn. Chloe had just gotten out of the car and was standing between the two vehicles. She stared at Jax in disbelief. He had another supercar. Was her Aunt Lilith really spoiling him that much? Caleb had told her Lilith would only live to 25. If they used Jax to agitate her a bit more, she might die even faster. Then the Astor family's assets would all belong to the Pierces, to Caleb. Whatever Jax was using to show off now would one day be hers. Still, she was only human. Faced with a top-tier hypercar, she couldn't help but stare. Well, if it isn't Kingston's campus queen, Chloe Vance. What's this, you taking a beat-up old jalopy to school? Sam jeered as he got out of the passenger seat. He couldn't stand this two-timing hypocrite. She had practically lived off Jax, but had never acknowledged him as her boyfriend, treating him like a blood bank, just like Caleb did. Oh, and is this jalopy being driven by our school's famous invalid, Caleb Pierce? Weren't you just in the ER yesterday, needing my boy Jax to give you a blood transfusion to save your life? And today you're already up and running around chasing girls? No wonder they say your body's weak. You're overexerting yourself so early in the morning. Sam's expert-level trash talk successfully turned everyone's attention to the BMW 3 Series. Caleb Pierce and the campus queen, Chloe Vance? They certainly looked like they were involved in something shady. Chloe's face flushed crimson. Her reputation was pristine, pure as ice. How dare Sam, Jax's lapdog, spread such rumors about her? Sam, I know Jax is upset because I wouldn't accept him and instead chose to stand for justice and tell the professors the truth about the research manuscript, which embarrassed him. I know that makes you unhappy too, but I'm a girl. Are you trying to drive me to my death by spreading these rumors? Chloe's face went pale, and her almond eyes filled with pitiful tears, making everyone want to rush to her defense. Immediately, the campus queen's fan club stepped up. Sam, don't you push it. Our Chloe is pure and innocent. She's probably never even held a man's hand. If you keep talking nonsense, don't blame us for getting rough. Yeah, you're just Jax's lackey. What do you get for kissing his ass? Sam smirked. Oh, just a downtown condo and a couple of supercars. That's right, I'm not pretending anymore. I'm part of the first wave of the leech off your bro generation, riding the coattails of my brother, who's being kept by a rich woman. You got a problem with that? Just then, Jax stepped out of the car with his long legs and tossed the Bugatti keys to Sam, his coolness factor off the charts. Here, you're third. Sam was floored. A few scraps from his brother's sugar mama feast were enough to make him happy for the rest of his life. The jaws of the onlookers hit the floor. Mr. Pierce, are you hiring? I'm great at being a scumbag, a natural-born trash talker. Seeing this, a dark look crossed Chloe's face. Caleb also got out of the car and walked up to Jax. They were fraternal twins, not only looking nothing alike, but also differing in height. Caleb was a good 3 inches shorter than Jax. Let's hope other things aren't 3 inches shorter too. He finally got a clear look at Jax's car and realized it was a top-tier Bugatti Veyron. In front of it, his BMW 3 Series looked positively pathetic. He gritted his teeth, a flash of jealousy in his eyes. Why did Jax get things better than him? A hypercar he couldn't even afford at this stage of his life? Was this his prize for being tortured by that monster Lilith? If he hadn't given the marry into the Astor family spot to Jax, would Jax be driving a hypercar? Lilith should have been his woman. If she weren't so domineering and vicious, he wouldn't have minded taking her for himself. This supercar should have been his. Jax had stolen what belonged to him and now dared to flaunt it. Jax, I know you've always liked Chloe and have done a lot for her, but I designed a manuscript for the tech competition myself. You can't take your anger out on her just because she chose to be honest and reveal the truth. The other day, she just tapped on your car window out of concern, and you demand $500,000 from her. That's not how you win a woman's heart, forcing her into a desperate situation where she has to give herself to you. Besides, you're not even single anymore. Are you, Jax? Caleb skillfully shifted the blame onto Jax, a tactic he often used in the Pierce household. And every time, Jax was the one who was questioned and punished. The crowd murmured in understanding. So Jax is just bitter because Chloe rejected him, and he's deliberately slandering her. Oh my God, Jax is disgusting. To get Chloe, he's resorting to anything, even extorting $500,000 for a tapped window. I bet it's not about the money. He's clearly trying to use his sugar mama's money to get Chloe into bed while still being her boy toy. What a despicable scheme. I wonder what would happen if that rich woman from yesterday found out. She'd probably kick him to the curb. If she kicks Jax out, I'm next in line. I'm young, healthy, and open to anything. I'm a natural with older women. But you're ugly, someone couldn't help but retort. Say what you will, Jax was undeniably good-looking. After his transformation, he was even more appealing. That lean waist of his could make even men flustered, let alone women. Jax glanced at the crowd, then at Chloe, who was secretly watching him, and Caleb, who couldn't hide his gloom. They really had a talent. They had managed to piss him off first thing in the morning. TSK, listening to you talk is one thing, but you're the one who's really full of hot air. The competition manuscript. You really think I'm stupid enough to only prepare one copy? Caleb, the National Collegiate Research Competition isn't like some high school science fair. When you have to present the actual invention to the judges, can you explain every single design detail. Have you been having stomach problems lately? Did you crap out your brain? The competition is starting soon. Don't say I didn't warn you. Jax left, leaving behind a stunned crowd and a guilty-looking Caleb and Chloe. Chloe's face was already pale, but now it was twisted with anxiety. As the crowd dispersed for class, she stood frozen, her voice panicked. Caleb, I told you he'd figured us out. He's probably been on his guard against us. The competition is in 2 days. Where are we going to get another design to enter? Caleb's brow furrowed. He was nervous, but he knew Jax. Jax was always straightforward. He wouldn't have made a backup of a design he'd already completed. Was Jax getting smarter? Was he bluffing? What are you afraid of? A country bumpkin thinks he can outsmart me? We stick to the plan. I'm using that design, and that's final. A vicious look crossed Caleb's face. He got in his car, planning to drive straight to his eldest sister. Hacking the Pierce Group's financial systems was a corporate crime. The family had every right to sue Jax. This was a job best handled by Morgan. It would be the most effective way to throw Jax off his game. However, the moment Caleb started the car, he heard a sudden impact from the rear. Bang! The sound wasn't loud, but every student rushing to class turned their head. Holy crap, the clunker just reversed into the hypercar. How much is that going to cost to repair? For the first time, I actually feel sorry for the BMW owner. I'm afraid he's going to lose his shirt, his pants, and his underwear over this. From a distance, Jack stood behind a tree, casually pocketing the car key he had modified. Sam, holding his phone and recording, leaped out. Caleb, you. Even if you can't stand that Jax is richer, more handsome, and 3 inches taller than you, you shouldn't have deliberately crashed into his car for revenge. TSK. How much is this going to cost? I feel bad for you already. Sam's loud wailing drew another crowd of curious onlookers. They took one look and gasped. This morning was just one drama after another. Chloe stared, dumbfounded. This is clearly insurance fraud and a setup. These tactics are so dirty. But the next moment, she saw Jax running toward them in a panic, theatrically throwing himself onto the damaged supercar and crying with a mix of snot and tears. Caleb, if you have a problem, take it out on me. Why did you have to bully my precious little Veyron? I don't care. You either pay up a few million, or wait to receive a summons from the Astor Group's legal department. Caleb. Jax was turning the tables on him, and in front of all these people, he was completely trapped. This was a loss he would have to swallow. It was utterly humiliating. Caleb Pierce was in a state of utter confusion as the police officer led him away. After sending the dashcam footage to the traffic division, Jax waved magnanimously at his departing brother. Caleb, make sure Mom has the money ready. Chloe Vance's face was a mask of disbelief and horror. In that moment, watching Jax, she felt as if he'd been possessed. The Jax she knew would never be this cruel. He must still love me, she rationalized. He must be furious that she'd gotten out of Caleb's car, and this was his way of lashing out. She had always been pragmatic. Besides, she was the bait meant to keep Jax in line. Caleb wouldn't blame her. Composing herself, Chloe smoothed the fabric of her pristine white dress and walked toward Jax, a perfectly calibrated, gentle smile on her face. Jax, I heard a medical fellow from the NIH is giving a guest lecture on dissection at our lab today. She paused, her voice softening. Even though I'm pre-med, I'm really squeamish about all the blood. Will you come with me? She didn't wait for an answer. Oh, but I almost forgot. You took this anatomy elective just to be in my class, didn't you? So I guess you have to come with me. Her voice became a placating murmur. Come on, don't be mad about Caleb and me. I was only spending time with him because I know how much you care about him. He's your brother, and he's sick. As a girlfriend, of course I'd show him a little extra concern. She reached out to take his arm, her voice turning into a sweet, wheedling whisper. Don't be angry anymore, okay? From now on, I'll eat every bite of the breakfast you bring me. I promise. In the past, she'd loathed any public contact with him. If they were in a crowded place, he wasn't allowed within 15 feet of her. Even in private, he had to maintain a 3-foot distance. She'd called it a healthy, emotional boundary, something to cultivate mystery. Distance makes the heart grow fonder, she'd said. What load of crap, Jax now thought. You didn't seem to need any distance when you were getting up close and personal with every other guy on campus. Chloe, you're so desperate to cling to people. I'm surprised you're not made of Velcro, Jax said, his voice dripping with ice. He wouldn't hit a woman, but that didn't mean he couldn't make her regret the day she was born. Killing her would be too simple, too boring. And if you've got nothing better to do with that mouth, go find a toilet to talk to. Stop spewing garbage here. Jax was a sophomore, while Chloe and Caleb were juniors. He had once loaded his schedule with her classes, including the upcoming anatomy lab, just to be near her. Sam Cole, his best friend, would occasionally sign up for the same electives just to broaden his horizons. The two of them arrived at the lab together, walking into a room buzzing with whispers. Did you hear? The guest lecturer is a Ph.D. from the National Institutes of Health, and she's only 20. No way. She's younger than me and already has a doctorate in anatomy? A female anatomy Ph.D. is rarer than a unicorn. That's not all. I walked past the administration building this morning and saw Dean Evans and the whole board of trustees fawning all over her. I've never seen the dean suck up to anyone like that. What's her name? For what I could make out, the dean kept calling her Professor. Jax stepped into the laboratory, the gossip washing over him. The mention of a brilliant, beautiful, and impossibly young female professor sent a jolt through him. A familiar image flashed in his mind, a woman in a stunningly tailored suit from that morning. Could it be? He thought. Did Lilith Astor follow me here? Just as the thought crossed his mind, a commotion erupted at the doorway. A crowd parted, and through the gap, a coolly arrogant figure came into view. It was her. She wore a lab coat, so white was almost blinding. Her skin, pale and flawless, seemed to glow under the fluorescent lights, a beautiful, almost morbid pallor. Her features were sharp and cool, framed by a pair of sophisticated, rimless glasses perched on a perfectly straight nose. Her thin, pale lips were pressed into a line of detached indifference. Beneath the lab coat, the professional black dress she'd worn that morning was just visible. The sheer black stockings on her long legs, a tantalizing hint of sensuality that contrasted sharply with her icy demeanor. She was an ice queen incarnate, a woman whose very presence could drive men mad. Today, Lilith had adopted a new persona. The cold, commanding aura of a powerful executive radiated from her, so intense it felt like she could produce a riding crop at any moment and command the world to bend to her will. Jax froze. Sam's jaw hit the floor. Chloe's scalp prickled with dread. Aside from the three of them who knew her true identity, the rest of the class was a mixture of awe and excitement. Oh my God, is she even real? She's stunning. Those glasses give her this intense, intellectual vibe. How can a woman look so much like a dangerously handsome, villainous CEO? Yes, Queen Slay. I would literally let her ruin my life. Step on me, please. That's not a real face. It has to be CGI. The proportions are too perfect. My whole life has been a lie, and only now have my eyes been opened. Damn, I thought Chloe Vance was the prettiest girl I'd ever see, the perfect girl next door. But Professor Astor, this Ice Queen vibe is on a whole other level. It's rewriting my brain chemistry. I'm definitely failing this class. And then I'm retaking it with her next semester, for sure. The chorus of sharp inhalations and whispered sent a wave of secret satisfaction through Jax. Yeah, she's gorgeous, isn't she? Perfect body, brilliant mind, rich, powerful. Go ahead, you frogs, dream of eating swan meat. This Ice Queen professor, she's my wife. The memory of what they'd done last night made him flush. Focused Jax. He had come in late and was blocking the aisle. He grabbed Sam and started looking for a seat. He didn't notice Chloe trailing behind him. Chloe's eyes were fixed on her Aunt Lilith, a flicker of resentment in her gaze. Before Lilith's arrival, she had been the undisputed campus belle of Kingston University. Now, she felt like a joke. She spotted an empty seat next to Jax and Sam. Clutching her books, she strode over and sat down beside him. Chloe, are you insane? Jax shot up as if he'd been electrocuted, disgusted by her proximity. There are 100 empty seats in this lab. Why do you have to sit here? If you love being a lapdog so much, my fantasy football team need a water boy. You can start tomorrow. The outburst was so loud that the entire lab turned to stare, including Lilith and the stoop-shouldered, sycophantic dean standing behind her. The students all knew Jax. Wasn't this Chloe's pathetic simp? Now that he was some rich woman's boy toy, he'd completely changed his tune. Chloe had been publicly humiliated by Jax more in the last 2 days than in her entire life. Wow, I never thought I'd see the day Jax the simp rejects Queen Chloe. What's wrong with her? Is her pure, innocent act over? Now she just throws herself at any guy? I heard she got out of Caleb Pierce's car this morning. I bet now that Landon Holt is out of the picture, she's desperate to lock down a new sugar daddy. Too bad for her. Is Jax any better? He's just some plaything for a rich woman. The murmurs and judgmental stares were like tiny needles pricking Chloe's skin. Her face went pale with shame. This is all your fault, Jax, she thought, frozen in place, not knowing whether to sit or stand. Most of all, she was terrified of her aunt. With Jax as her shield, she'd felt brave enough to challenge the volatile woman. But now she was afraid. That's enough. Dean Evans snapped, his voice sharp. He'd always had a soft spot for the beautiful and studious Chloe, often helping her secure scholarships and tuition waivers. Seeing her so disheveled now, he wondered if he'd been blind. Today, our university has the distinct honor of hosting Professor Astor from the NIH, who has graciously agreed to lead this lab. Some of you should show a little gratitude. Do you have any idea what her usual speaking fee is? No, he didn't. Dean Evans thought privately. Who in their right mind would dare ask the heiress of the Astor dynasty to teach a class? Even if she named a price, no one would dare pay it. It's expensive, all right, Jax thought darkly. It'll cost you your life. Settle down and find your seats, the dean ordered. And some of you should remember that having a pretty face is no excuse for entitlement. You're a disgrace to Kingston University. Marcus, the class representative, chimed in, his words a thinly veiled jab at Chloe. Yeah, some people need to check their ego. The lab seats were assigned. In the past, Jax had been relegated to the back, content to just watch Chloe from afar. Now, she wanted to close that distance. Too late. She'd been pushed too far away. There was no going back. Swallowing the bitter pill of her humiliation, Chloe retreated to her assigned seat in the front row. She'd wanted to sit with Jax for another reason. The front row was directly under Lilith's gaze, and she was terrified. Her friend Jessica, oblivious, pulled her down. Don't be sad, Chloe, she whispered. He's just playing hard to get. He's putting on a show because you chose to do the right thing and stand against him. Deep down, he can't forget you. He's just trying to get your attention. Chloe's brow furrowed, but Jessica's words were a soothing balm. Tears welled in her eyes. Jessica, do you really think so? Of course, Jessica insisted. Men are all the same. They chase what they can't have and discard what comes too easily. Besides, you were his high school crush, his first love. A man never forgets his first love. The logic was flawless, a comforting narrative Chloe desperately wanted to believe. But Lilith, with her sharp hearing, caught every word. Her promise to Jax not to kill Chloe felt very thin right now. The urge to commit violence was a physical tremor in her hand. But she was, as always, a master of self-control. With a soft, nearly inaudible crack of her knuckles, she stepped to the front of the lab and wrote 2 words on the whiteboard. Lilith Astor. That's my name, she announced. Ph.D. National Institutes of Health. My research focuses on human organ transplantation and repair. Today, I'm your instructor. So all of you, be good. Her eyes swept over the students and landed on Jax, who was sitting ramrod straight. The way she said be good held a secret, possessive warmth that only he could hear. His ears burned. Last night, she had whispered the same words in his ear. Jax, be good. Work with me. A shiver ran up his spine. Her gaze was locked on his, intense and proprietary, and she was holding a long, thin pointer. The scene was getting dangerously close to something else. He quickly looked away, silently chanting a mantra to calm himself down. Sam, sitting next to him, blinked his wide, innocent eyes. Dude, she told the whole class to be good. Why are you the one having a moment? On the dais, Lilith's lips curved into a faint smile, but her voice took on a familiar, terrifying edge of malice that Jax knew all too well. Otherwise, I won't hesitate to use you all as reference material for my experiments. She pushed her glasses up her nose with a single finger. The lenses flashed in the light. In that instant, the male half of the class practically vibrated with excitement. Damn, Professor Astor is a legend. A Ph.D. at 20, and the dean himself escorted her here. That's the kind of respect an Ice Queen deserves. Lilith Astor? Why does that name sound so familiar? How many Astor families are there in New York? You'd think someone would have heard of a family that produced such a genius. No, you're right. It does sound familiar. Holy crap. Of course it's familiar. Lilith Astor is the heiress to the Astor financial dynasty. She's the freaking CEO of the Astor Group. A collective gasp went through the room. What? Wasn't that woman supposed to be some kind of monster, a cruel, vicious manipulator? A black widow who looked like a goddess? And more importantly, what had they done in a past life to deserve the honor of being taught by the Lilith Astor? I prefer a relaxed, interactive classroom environment, Lilith continued, her voice smooth as silk. You're all future medical professionals. What's the point of just dissecting frogs and rabbits? It's so boring. She paused, a wicked glint in her eyes. So today I brought a donor body for you all. Well, are you ready? Let's begin. A shocked silence fell over the students. Professor Astor is nuts. She's bringing in a real cadaver? For an elective? Jax swallowed hard. Are you sure it's a donor body? And not just a body? Soon, no one dared to make a sound. At Lilith's signal, 2 men in black suits carried a shrouded form onto the dissection table at the front of the lab. Chloe's face turned sheet white. Though she was pre-med, she had never dissected a human body. Now a very fresh-looking one was laid out right before her. She could barely breathe. Then her eyes fell upon the form under the sheet. She could make out the shape of torso, but one of the arms was clearly missing a hand. Her soul nearly left her body. This so-called donor body, it can't be Logan Holt, can it? Ms. Vance, you don't look so well, Lilith said, her voice deceptively light. Her lips curved into a smile that was both beautiful and terrifyingly insane. She had promised Jax she wouldn't kill Chloe, but scaring the ever-loving hell out of her. That wasn't breaking the rules, was it? Lilith's eyes, full of wicked amusement, were fixed on Chloe. There was nothing she enjoyed more than torturing her little lab rats with psychological pressure. And this one was her favorite. Professor asked her this. This wasn't on the syllabus. Dean Evans stammered, his face pale. He had been thrilled at the prestige of having Lilith Astor teach at Kingston, but she had insisted on keeping it low-key, so no other faculty were present. As the dean, he felt obligated to stay, to show his commitment to his students and his deference to their powerful benefactor. But things had escalated. Fast. As an administrator, his instinct was to stop a professor from crossing a line. But he had forgotten. Lilith Astor wasn't one of his professors. She was an uncontrollable force of nature. Besides, how could he argue with the woman who had just donated $100 million to the university for a new science building? She wasn't just a benefactor. She was a god. You don't argue with gods. You just pray they don't smite you. Do you have an objection? Lilith asked, turning her head slightly. Her glasses caught the light, and her eyes flashed with a coldness that was utterly inhuman. For a terrifying second, the dean felt like he was no longer a person in her eyes, but a specimen. No, absolutely not, he squeaked. I'm harmless. Please don't kill me. As top students at Kingston University, you should all be eager to embrace hands-on exploration and practice, the dean said, his voice suddenly full of bluster. It's an honor for you to be taught by Professor Astor personally. He coughed, already backing away. I just remembered some urgent administrative matters I must attend to. Please carry on. Students, you will follow Professor Astor's instructions. With that, Dean Evans practically fled the room. In New York City, the Astor dynasty was law. And as the sole power in the Astor group, Lilith Astor's command was absolute. That was the power of real influence. The students stood frozen, a flock of sheep abandoned by their shepherd. Lilith gestured for her bodyguards to remove the sheet. Inch by inch, the pale skin of the corpse was revealed. Chloe had been on the verge of fainting since she saw the missing hand. She couldn't bear to look. Ms. Vance, you're in the front row. It's most convenient for you. Why don't you do the honors? Lilith's voice was casual, but her tone was sharp as a scalpel. She held the pointer loosely, the white lab coat making her seem ethereal and pure. A beautiful eye. Beneath the skin was a monster. Is Ms. Vance declining? Lilith's eyes scanned the front row. Then you help her, she said, her gaze landing on Jessica. You two seem close. I'm sure you wouldn't mind doing this for her. It's not a difficult request, is it? She leaned forward slightly, her voice a soft question laced with undeniable menace. An order from the queen. Who would dare refuse? The next person on a slab could be you. Jessica shot to her feet, shaking like a leaf. Professor Astor, Chloe and I, we're just girls. We're not very brave. Her eyes darted around frantically. Maybe one of the guys should go first. Jax is the bravest person I know. He's always been willing to do anything for Chloe. They just had a little fight. That's why he was disrupting class earlier. Letting him do this would be a perfect way for him to make up for it. It was a deliberate, calculated move. She wanted Jax to notice her, to remember her for her boldness. You don't get a guy like that by fawning over him. You get his attention by challenging him. Lilith's gaze lifted, sweeping languidly over to where Jax sat, looking for all the world like a well-behaved student. Oh, she purred. Is that so? Jax cursed Jessica internally. That conniving parasite had been using her friendship with Chloe to boss him around for years. Now she'd really stepped in it. When he was done with Chloe, Jessica was next. But first, he had to survive the immediate crisis. Lilith's voice was almost gentle, but Jax could smell the impending storm of blood and fury. Bullshit, he snapped, his voice cutting through the tense silence. Jessica, stop running your mouth and making things up. Chloe and I have nothing to do with each other. The only relationship we have is that of a creditor and a debtor. He showed her no mercy, stripping away her public face completely. Chloe's eyes widened. The public humiliations were escalating at an alarming rate. Just a few days ago, he was her plaything, completely devoted to her. Then, she thought, a spark of hope igniting. They always want to destroy what they can't have. It meant he still cared. He was probably just trying to distance himself from her in front of Lilith to protect her. Her mind cleared. She looked at Jax, her eyes soft and pleading. Jax, you've really misunderstood about Caleb and me. Then she turned to Lilith. Professor Astor, you don't have to trouble anyone else. I'm a pre-med student. I need to get used to practical anatomy. I'm a little scared, but I won't let my friends suffer for my sake. She looked as pure as ever, her simple white dress making her seem innocent and vulnerable, someone to be pitied. In an instant, she had flipped the script, making Jax look like a petty bully. Jax's face darkened. Damn, she's good. A master manipulator. With one move, she tried to appease him while simultaneously lighting his possessive wife's fuse with that one intimate word. Jax. He felt a chill crawl up his spine and shot a desperate, innocent look at Lilith. Lilith's lips curved into a faint, knowing smile. She glanced down at Chloe, a single look so full of condescending power that it made Chloe want to kneel. Jax braced himself, certain she was about to flip the dissection table and murder Chloe in front of everyone. He almost forgot. In New York City, Lilith Astor was above the law. If she wanted Chloe dead, Chloe would die. But the explosion didn't happen. Since Ms. Vance has volunteered, Lilith said, her voice smooth, and even as she gestured to a tray of instruments, I assume I don't need to introduce this set of surgical scalpels. You will be the first to demonstrate for the class. Start by opening the abdomen. The entire class held its breath. No one dared to speak, terrified that the black-stockinged angel of death would point her finger at them next. Chloe felt numb, her body trembling uncontrollably. It wasn't that she was truly afraid of dissection. Every pre-med student studied anatomy. They just lacked hands-on experience. If it were just any cadaver, she could handle it. But this one, his face was wrapped in bandages, but she knew. When they first unwrapped the body, she had seen it, a distinctive mole on his chest. It was Logan Holt. This was a warning from her aunt, a demonstration of her power. She could make anyone disappear. Chloe had no choice. She stood up stiffly, picked up a scalpel, and with a trembling hand, touched the blade to the corpse's stomach. What are you afraid of, Miss Vance? Lilith's voice was sharp. This is a basic procedure. Is this how you approach a core subject? If you can't even handle this, what hospital would ever hire you? Even in anger, the Ice Queen was breathtakingly beautiful. In contrast, Chloe's pathetic, wilting flower act seemed bland and tasteless. What are you waiting for, Chloe? Professor Astor is giving you a golden opportunity. Stop acting like a baby and dragging down the class average. Yeah, stop acting like she's bullying you. You think you're the heroine in some movie, waiting for a hero to save you. So this is the great campus belle. Guess I have a new goddess now. An intelligent ice queen like Professor Astor. Now that's my type. Hilarious. You think Professor Astor would look twice at you? I'd sooner believe pigs can fly. A woman like her. What kind of man would she even be interested in? A CEO or a billionaire probably wouldn't even register. I need a whole-body makeover. It would have to be someone unbelievably handsome. Actually, since his makeover, Jax is pretty good-looking. But she'd never go for a pretty boy like him. You know, facially, actually, look good together. Wait a second. Why does Professor Astor's figure look so familiar? Whoa, you're right. That waist-to-hip ratio, those stockings. Look at that photo on the Kingston Gossip Forum. She looks exactly like the mystery woman with Jax. Get real. Professor Astor is an ice queen. The woman with Jax was sultry and elegant. Totally different vibes. Besides, lots of women have similar figures. It's just a rumor. Yeah, you're right. Jax isn't that lucky. His sugar mama has a killer body, but her face is blurry in the photo. She's probably ugly as sin. The whispers continued, but Chloe couldn't delay any longer. She forced herself to overcome her terror and made the first incision. Lilith began to lecture, her voice calm and professional. She never once touched the body. It was too dirty. Anyone who hurt her Jax deserved no mercy. Her methods were a form of art, a sadistic pleasure she relished, torturing her victims psychologically and physically. Chloe, wearing gloves, performed the dissection in front of the entire class, pulling out organs, the sight and smell forcing her to fight back waves of nausea. Her mind was fraying. Seeing that mole, she couldn't stop picturing Logan Holt, alive with her. And then a more horrifying thought surfaced. The moment her scalpel cut into his skin, she could have sworn she felt a lingering warmth. Was he dissected alive? The thought circled her brain like a vulture. What are you so afraid of, Miss Vance? Lilith's voice, a soft whisper right next to her ear, sent a fresh wave of terror through her. Could it be that you know this man? She leaned closer. Oh, I forgot to tell you, my dear niece. He was still breathing when I brought him here. I saved him just for you to finish him off. Aren't I a good aunt? Lilith's cold fingertips brushed against Chloe's hair in a deceptively affectionate gesture. At the same time, an imperceptibly thin silver needle pricked the back of her neck. Chloe's face went chalk white, her mind completely shattered by fear. A moment later, a trickling sound filled the silence. Shhhhhhh. A nearby student pointed, his face a mask of shock and disgust. Oh my God, Chloe Vance just peed her pants. For Chloe, a girl who valued her reputation above all else, this was the final straw. She let out a piercing scream and collapsed to the floor. Ah! As always, the campus belle had her nights. Aiden, a loyal simp she had always ignored, rushed forward, whipping off his jacket to cover her. The lab descended into chaos. Lilith's eyes swept over the scene, a cruel, satisfied smile playing on her lips. But as she looked up, she saw Jax, handsome and resolute, walking directly toward her. No, not just toward her, toward the front of the lab, where she stood, and where Chloe was huddled on the floor. So he couldn't stand it anymore? A pang of disappointment hit Lilith. Ah, Jax, so you were just pretending. You still care about her. You couldn't watch me torment her any longer. Her expression remained cold, impassive. If he dared to challenge her, she would destroy Chloe completely. But in the next second, she felt a weight on her shoulder. The clean, intoxicating scent of peppermint enveloped her, a warmth that instantly melted her thorny defenses. I didn't hurt, she started to say, but he cut her off. While everyone was distracted by Chloe's meltdown, Jax closed the distance. In front of the entire class, he wrapped an arm around Lilith's waist, backing her against the whiteboard, pinning her there. Chill. It doesn't matter, he whispered, his voice low and intense. You're so beautiful when you're being vindictive. His lips brushed her ear. I want to kiss you. Lilith's eyes widened in shock. This isn't right. Has he lost his mind? He's not going to check on his precious white moonlight. But then she heard his request, and the pointer fell from her hand with a clatter. Her slender, pale fingers reached up, cupped his face, and pulled him down into a fierce, desperate kiss, as if it were the only way to find the security she craved. Sam's jaw dropped. Brother, we're in a goddamn laboratory, and you're making a move on Professor Astor? Of course, this was when a true friend knew his role. He rushed into the crowd, yelling at the top of his lungs to create a diversion. Oh my God, Chloe, you're pre-med, and you get so scared by a simple dissection that you wet yourself? What kind of doctor will you be? Already traumatized, Chloe heard Sam's public taunt and promptly fainted. The chaos intensified, providing the perfect cover for the scene at the front of the room, where a tall figure had draped his jacket over a smaller one, shielding her from view as she desperately, possessively claimed his kiss. Inside the Rolls-Royce, Jax sat beside Lilith like a chastened schoolboy. After all their time together, including his past life, he had become an expert in recognizing the triggers for her episodes. That was a close call in the lab. If he had been a second later in stabilizing her with that kiss, she might have leveled the entire building. But now, under her cold, silent gaze, he felt a familiar unease. Sweetheart, what's wrong? He asked softly. Why are you looking at me like that? Why didn't you tell me you were coming to campus? We could have come together. Lilith's eyes were cool and distant, a stark contrast to her lips, which were still red and swollen from his kiss. An arctic chill radiated from her. That body, she said, her voice stiff. It wasn't the old bastard who bullied you. I was just scaring Chloe. The real one is already in the ground. I have no interest in digging up graves. It was an explanation of a sort. Her coming to the university was a test, a sign of her profound distrust. But it was also a sign of her possessiveness, her inability to be apart from him. She loved him so much that a moment out of her sight was like an infestation of ants crawling under her skin. She had already implanted tracking chips in both him and Chloe. If they came within 30 feet of each other, an alarm would go off. She had been about to start a morning meeting when the alert sounded, and she'd changed her plans on a dime, grabbing a conveniently prepared cadaver to go scare them. She wasn't just testing him. She was coming to deliver a shock to their system. Thankfully, Jax knew how to play the game. All right, honey, why are you calling Logan Holt an old bastard too? It's not proper for a beautiful lady to use such language. He leaned closer, breaking her train of thought, and slid an arm smoothly around her slender waist. Her curves were intoxicating, a perfect hourglass. It would be a crime not to touch her. I'm done with Chloe. I find her repulsive now, so don't be jealous, okay? Honey. He moved closer, and the force field of her commanding aura softened in his presence. All things considered, his performance had been perfect, but a woman's displeasure still required soothing. It's still early, he murmured, his eyes cast down, his long lashes shadowing his stunning features. Maybe we could. Lilith stared at him, mesmerized. She loved him so much she wanted to rip her heart out and give it to him. But she was afraid she would scare him away. She blinked, and her slender fingers began to stray toward dangerous territory. Jax quickly caught her hand. No, no, no. I can't. I'm tapped out. Or, he said quickly, changing tack, I could go with you to the office. I've never been to the Astor Group headquarters. Of course, there are many places he'd never been. Lilith had repeatedly tried to get him to choose from her portfolio of properties. Mansions, skyscrapers, yachts, all in an effort to please him. But he had always refused, his disgust for her extending to everything she owned. It was the one area where the ever-victorious Lilith Astor had known defeat. And now, he was volunteering to go to her company? Was he no longer repulsed by her? Was he willing to spend her money to share in their joint assets? Jax, however, had his own agenda. He couldn't rely on college competitions to make real money. It was too slow. He needed to start his own company. And the Astor Group, a titan of New York's business world, was the perfect place to learn. Besides, his wife needed to be soothed and accompanied. It was a win-win. Okay, Lilith purred, her eyes narrowing with satisfaction. In the front seat, Nathan felt like his head was going to explode. My lady, you are well and truly blinded by lust. This kid, he's definitely up to no good. Behind the Rolls-Royce, in a champagne-colored Bentley, Leo Astor sat with his legs crossed, his face a mask of fury. You're telling me my sister came to Kingston University to personally teach Jax's class? He spat. She's really keeping that little pet on a tight leash. Follow them, he ordered the driver. I want to see for myself. What makes Jax Pierce worthy of competing with me for my sister's affection? The driver sighed internally. Young Master Leo, it's obvious to everyone, even me, who she dotes on more. Are you really so determined to get yourself killed? At the Pierce family home. What? My son hit someone's $5 million hypercar, and we need to pay $300,000 to get him back? That's robbery. My son is a sweet, kind boy. He would never get into that kind of trouble. The moment Eleanor Pierce got the call, she was convinced it was Jax's doing. Caleb was her precious, gentle, and obedient son. This had to be Jax, once again turning on his own family, attacking his own brother. Just yesterday, he had callously retaliated against them. What happened? Mr. Pierce emerged from his study, his expression grim. $300,000 was a lot of money, but for the Pierce family, an upper-class family in New York, it was manageable. After all, the Astor family had given them $30 million for Caleb's contractual marriage. Mr. Pierce had invested $10 million in the family business, given Eleanor $5 million for personal spending, and distributed $1 million to each of their 5 daughters. The remaining $10 million he had deposited into an account for Caleb. It was, after all, his marriage fund. Technically, the one who had actually married into the Astor family was Jax. But Jax was an Astor now, no longer a Pierce. Giving him the money would be a waste. It would just end up back in the Astor coffers. Mr. Pierce considered that a terrible loss, so he had quietly pocketed the money, telling only his wife. Even his children didn't know. Honey, Caleb hit a hypercar. They want $300,000 for a private settlement, or they'll go public. Caleb has a reputation in our circle as a gentle, respectable young man. We can't let his record be tarnished by something like this, Eleanor said, her voice sharp with anger. He never looks for trouble. How could this have happened on campus? It has to be that wicked Jax, bullying his own brother again. Mr. Pierce nodded, his brow furrowed. That curse. How much chaos will he wreak on his family before he's satisfied? Fine, $300,000 it is. Our Caleb is fragile. We can't let him suffer at the hands of those thugs. He's my heir. Nothing can happen to him. The Pierces drove to the designated repair shop. Mr. Pierce transferred the money from Caleb's account. The men holding Caleb were surprisingly professional. They took the money and shoved him out the door. Caleb's clothes were torn, and his face was bruised and swollen. He'd clearly been beaten. Mr. Pierce's face contorted with rage, and he started to step forward to confront them. But then he saw the Astor Group insignia on their jackets, and his anger instantly deflated. He knew, without a doubt, this was Jax's doing. That boy was a menace who had to be dealt with. They helped Caleb into the car, fussing over his injuries. Mom, Dad, don't blame Jax. Caleb whispered weakly from his mother's arms. It was my fault. His defense only fanned the flames of his parents' fury. That's enough. Eleanor snapped. Jax thinks just because he has the Astors backing him, he can do whatever he wants. He's forgotten where he comes from, using outsiders to hurt his own family. Caleb, don't worry. I will not let him get away with this. I will make him pay. Her eyes narrowed, her disappointment and disgust for Jax reaching a new peak. And now, she, His own mother couldn't even get a meeting with him. Mom, Jax is Lilith Astor's husband now. The Astor dynasty. We can't fight them, Caleb said weakly, as if the beating had terrified him into submission. We should just be glad he's not taking his anger out on the whole family. We shouldn't provoke him. Don't worry, darling, Eleanor soothed, stroking his bruised face, her heart aching. Caleb, a cool voice said from the back seat. Are you sure those men gave you those bruises? The angle of the marks. It almost looks like you ran into something yourself. Or scratched your own face. It was Sierra Pierce. She happened to be coming downstairs as her parents were leaving and had decided to tag along. For the past few days, she'd been in a funk, replaying her memories of Jax. All the times he had been good to her. He had been a wonderful brother, giving her everything, and she had betrayed him time and again. This time, she had almost gotten him expelled. She didn't even know his birthday, yet she had taken his kindness for granted. How could she call herself his sister? And yet, he had always been good to her. A boy like that wouldn't hurt Caleb for no reason. Listening to her family's accusations, Sierra felt a knot tighten in her stomach. Her question was met with a sharp slap across the face from her mother. Crack! The sound stunned Sierra into silence. Mom, she hit me? For Caleb? The feeling was sickeningly familiar, placing her in the same position Jax had been in so many times, the target of their mother's misplaced rage. It must have hurt him this much too, she thought. The pain in her heart was far worse than the sting on her cheek. Her mother's favoritism was a blade, sharp and cruel. Sierra, have you lost your mind? Eleanor hissed. I knew something was wrong with you yesterday. That curse has brainwashed you. Caleb has been so good to you. When you were failing your classes, who stayed up all night to write your papers. He loves you, and you repay him by siding with an outsider against him? What kind of sister are you? Sierra's own temper flared. I'm just stating the facts, she retorted, clutching her cheek. Caleb is a liar, and the way you two fall for it, you're just as pathetic. You talk about being parents, but you're so blatantly biased. Why did you even bother having other children if you were only going to love him? Oh, right. You had 5 daughters before you finally got your precious son. Of course you'd spoil him. But what about Jax? He's your son, too. Just because he's healthy, does that mean he deserves to be your whipping boy? Crack. Another slap, this one from her father, silenced her. He stared at his trembling hand, his face pale with a flicker of guilt. Sierra, do not speak to your parents that way. In this house, all our children are treated equally. I have never favored your brother. See? Eleanor cried hysterically. Jax is a curse. Sierra sees him for one day, and she turns into this defiant monster. You will go to your room for the weekend. You will not come out. You will have no phone, and no meals will be brought to you. You will stay in there and think about your disrespect until you've learned your lesson. Sierra laughed, a bitter, hollow sound. It was a laugh of pure disappointment. So this is how painful it was for Jax all those years. And no one had ever cared. Her heart twisted. She wanted to find Jax, to tell him that she finally understood his pain, to apologize for a lifetime of turning a blind eye. But was it too late? Would he ever forgive her? Fine, Sierra said, her voice hard. I'll go. Eleanor's face turned purple with rage. Mom, Sierra didn't mean it. Caleb began. She meant every word. Eleanor shrieked. She's spoiled rotten, and that monster Jax has corrupted her. She needs to be taught a lesson, to repent for her sins. Sierra just smiled, a sad, bitter smile. Repent? If their ancestors saw what a mess this family had become, they'd claw their way out of their graves. The injustice of it all was a physical weight in her chest. She pulled out her phone and dialed Jax's number again. Straight to the automated message. He really has blocked me. He must hate her now. She remembered all the times he had secretly taken her punishments for her, and the tears she'd been holding back finally fell. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Jax. I was so wrong. If I suffer through everything you suffered for me, can we ever go back to the way we were? Outside the Astor Group headquarters, the extended Rolls-Royce glided to a stop. Lilith stepped out first. Red-bottomed heels, black stockings, a form-fitting professional skirt, and a powerful blazer created an aura of cold, sharp authority. The moment she appeared, the employees lining the entrance automatically parted, creating a path to her private elevator. But then, instead of striding into the building with her usual whirlwind pace, she turned back and opened the car door herself. The crowd gasped. What kind of VIP warrants that level of respect from Lilith Astor? All eyes were fixed on the open door. A moment later, Jax emerged, looking slightly flustered by her gesture. The feeling of having his billionaire CEO wife open his car door for him was pretty damn awesome. But wasn't that supposed to be his move? Under the gaze of dozens of people, he felt a flicker of nervousness. Just then, A slender, elegant hand appeared before him. "Jax, come on," Lilith said, her stunning face close to his. "Welcome to our company." She leaned in, her voice a conspiratorial whisper. "I'm thinking of renaming it. From now on, it will be the Pierce Astor International Group. What do you think?" His wife. How could she be so good to him? He felt completely unworthy. "Lily, let's not change it just yet." "Okay," he said, his voice gentle but firm. He was intoxicated by her devotion, but managed to keep a sliver of his sanity. "When I'm worthy of standing beside you, then I'll have the right to sit in that seat." Turns out, being a kept man could go to your head. One taste, and you wanted more. "To be my man, you don't need any qualifications or external validation," she declared. "Jax, as long as I love you, everything I have is yours, including my life. I've already started the paperwork to change the name. It's happening, whether you want it or not. Forcing you into this marriage with me. I know it was unfair to you. I have to make it up to you over and over again. And I have to do everything in my power to keep you," she thought. "Jax, I've spent my life surrounded by violence and blood. I don't know what love is, but I want to show you, in my own way, that you are my everything. You were my salvation when I was in the deepest abyss. You deserve all of me. And even if I trade all of me for just a little bit of your heart, I'm afraid. It's a price I can't afford." A shadow of melancholy crossed her face. But in the next moment, she felt a warmth envelop her hand. It was Jax. He had stepped out of the car and laced his fingers through hers. "Lily, whether you believe it or not, I love you too," he said, his voice resonating with a sincerity that stunned her. "And I don't feel wronged at all. Being your husband is my honor. Now come on, let's go see our company." He understood her so perfectly. He knew her confidence was a fragile shell, born from the guilt of forcing him into this life and a deep-seated insecurity in matters of the heart. Who would have thought that the ruthless, decisive Lilith Astor was so insecure in love? Nathan watched this exchange, his brain buzzing. He felt like the sheer force of this scene was about to expose his true form. The Astor Group was worth an incalculable amount. With that kind of money, she could have any man in the world. "My lady, what are you so insecure about?" And Jax, that smirk on your face is harder to suppress than machine gun fire. Stop pretending to be so profound and just accept your fate as a kept man. An overwhelming wave of happiness washed over Lilith. "Oh, I love him even more now." No one heard their quiet conversation. The employees just craned their necks, their minds racing with gossip. Lilith Astor, who never looked at a man, is holding a man's hand. And he's gorgeous, more handsome than any movie star. Standing next to her, they look perfect. This is the first man I've ever seen who can actually match her presence. "Good morning, Ms. Astor." As Lilith led Jax into the building, a chorus of greetings followed them. Curious eyes darted toward Jax. Suddenly, Lilith stopped in the middle of the grand lobby. The clicking of her heels ceased, and a wave of fear rippled through the crowd. Oh God, she's going to kill us for staring. She's going to gouge out our gossip-loving eyes. But instead, Lilith held up their intertwined hands. For the first time ever, she addressed her employees about her private life. "His name is Jax Pierce," she announced, her voice ringing with authority. "He is my husband, and he is the future master of the Astor Group." Jax himself? The lobby was dead silent for a full 10 seconds. Mr. Pierce, good morning." One employee finally managed, his eyes wide with shock. Jax gave a slightly awkward wave, his other hand held firmly in Lilith's, as if she were transferring her power directly into him. She then pulled him toward the private executive elevator. The moment the elevator doors closed, a collective sigh of relief swept through the lobby, immediately followed by an explosion of frantic whispers. "Oh my God, that guy was handsome, sure, but just because he's hot. He's our boss's husband? The Demon Queen is really in love. Did you hear her? Future master of the group? She's basically handing him the keys to the kingdom. He looks like a college kid. How is he supposed to manage a company this huge? She's lost her mind. You can find another man, but there's only one Astor Group. She could have anyone. Why is she so fixated on him? And giving him everything? Is the Demon Queen a secret romantic? You're all just jealous. You think he's a pretty boy because you're small-minded. But I saw him. He has this calm, powerful aura. I bet he's her equal. Am I the only one thinking? Ms. Astor has a temper that can make even Mr. Sterling tremble. For this Mr. Pierce to be standing there so calmly, he must have something special. The gossip grew more speculative, but one thing was certain. Every man in the room was green with envy. Jax Pierce hadn't just married up. He had rocketed into the stratosphere. Inside the private elevator, the doors had barely slid shut when a powerful presence pressed in on Jax. Lilith's lithe body closed the distance, pinning him in the corner. She bent one long leg, her knee brushing against his trousers, her clear, cool eyes now sparkling with a dangerous light. It was obvious the lady of the house was in a very good mood. She had just publicly declared her ownership of him, and he hadn't argued, hadn't caused a scene. That was enough to fill her with a giddy, triumphant sweetness. "Jax," she purred, "I took the liberty of announcing that you belong to me. Are you happy?" Even if he wasn't, she wouldn't take it back. The moment she'd said it, it was true. The cool, imperious goddess pouted her pink lips, a flash of playful mischief in her eyes that was utterly bewitching. Jax looked down at her and, without hesitation, cupped her face in his hands. "I'm happy." And Lily, who didn't take any liberties, it was my choice. A firestorm of emotion churned inside him. In his past life, he had been blinded by a misguided moral code, by a foolish belief in his own noble suffering. He'd sacrificed everything for Chloe and the Pierces. But now, living for himself, he was finally realizing how incredible it was to have a possessive billionaire CEO for a wife. A man should have his own career, of course, but when his stunning wife was handing him the world on a silver platter, he couldn't just keep refusing, could he? This was a mutual arrangement, and besides, she was gorgeous, rich, and utterly devoted to him. He'd been such an idiot in his past life, simping for a woman who was practically a public utility. Thank God he'd never touched Chloe. He might have caught something and died without ever knowing why. In the cramped confines of the elevator, Jax felt a pleasant, tingling sensation spread through his body. The electrifying kiss in the lab had been a thrill that went straight to his core. And now, even with the security camera watching, he wrapped his arms around her slender waist, his breath ghosting over the smooth, pale skin of her neck. A shiver ran through her. For a moment, Lilith could hear her own heart pounding in her ears. Jax is happy. He said he was willing. He's really changed. He was still the man who made her heart race, but now he was something more, someone she wanted to melt into, to become one with. Love, in that moment, bloomed without regard for time or place. Lilith could no longer hold back. She hooked her arms around his neck, pulled him down, and claimed his lips in a fiery, possessive kiss. Jax tightened his grip on her waist, leaning into her, his own breath growing heavy. Ding! The elevator display read 66. Her office floor. The doors opened onto the bustling executive suite. Reluctantly, Lilith loosened her hold, her lips parting from his. "Jax, this is my office." Her voice was a little breathless. "I'll have Nathan add your biometrics to the company's internal system. I know you don't like to get involved in corporate affairs. We have professional managers for that. But the assets that are rightfully yours will be transferred to your name. From now on, I'll be working for you, too." She leaned close to him again. She loved him so much, she wanted to give him everything. He used to fight her to try and run. But even then, she had transferred countless assets to his name. She didn't care if he wanted them. She only cared that she had them, and that she wanted to give them to him. In truth, her obsession had reached the point where, just because he was studying at Kingston, she wanted to own the university itself, so that every inch of ground he walked on, every breath of air he took, was hers. Lilith Astor was, through and through, a woman obsessed. "Jax, my possessive wife. She spoils me too much." He knew, however, that refusal was futile. All he could do was lie back and enjoy it. Of course, the more she gave him, the more his own ambition grew. "Lily, this is too much," he said, his voice sincere. The lady of the house didn't like to hear the word no, but this soft, reluctant protest, it felt like he was indulging her, letting her spoil him. It sounded almost like he was flirting. She liked it. It made her want to give him more. "It's not enough," she said. "Compared to how much I love you, this is nothing. Come on, let me show you my office." She took his hand, their fingers intertwining again. As they emerged from the elevator, the entire busy office floor went silent. "Get back to work," Nathan said, appearing from one of the regular elevators. "Ms. Astor is just showing her new husband around. Don't act like you've never seen a person before." He followed them toward the main office. "Wait at the door," Lilith ordered him. "Jackson, I need some time alone." "Nathan." "Ms. Astor, I'm too embarrassed to even point it out. The way you're looking at him, like a wolf looks at a lamb. Are you sure you don't mean you need some time to be alone? My lady, this is an office. I advise you not to get too wild." Leo Astor had his driver follow his sister's car all the way to the Astor Group headquarters. He watched in disbelief as Lilith not only publicly acknowledged Jax, but also brought him inside the company. Was she really just going to hand everything over to him? Jax was nothing but a pretty boy. What right did he have to the Astor fortune? He, Leo, was the only one in the world who truly cared about his sister. Jax was a threat, a parasite who would ruin her and the entire company. Furious, Leo pulled out his phone, recorded the scene, and sent it to a number he hadn't contacted in a long time. A man who inspired fear in both him and Lilith. Hayden Astor, their older brother, the only person in the Astor group who could still make Lilith hesitate. Of course, Hayden was now disabled. But the fact that he had survived Lilith's psychotic break 2 years ago, a rampage that nearly ended with her killing her own parents, with only the loss of his legs, spoke volumes about his own formidable nature. Even more intimidating were the powerful figures who backed him, the only reason a completely unhinged Lilith had spared his life. Leo was surprised to get a reply so quickly. A man's deep, raspy voice, like a devil's whisper, came through the phone. Leo, don't try to monitor or control Lilith's choices. The consequences are unpredictable. Lilith has her own code for everything she does. It seems only with this man has she lost all reason. A word of advice: don't touch anything she has marked as her private property. You haven't seen her when she truly loses control. But if you touch him, well, if you have 9 lives, you might just get to see it for yourself. The man's tone was casual, almost mocking, the detached air of a spectator. Yet rumor had it he was the loser in their power struggle, forced to live on Lilith's charity. Hayden had never cared about rumors. He sat in his wheelchair, looking at the image of Lilith and Jax projected onto a large screen. He could read lips. He watched their exchange, a slow smile spreading across his face. TSK, so our cold, heartless Lilith has finally learned how to love, and she's willing to bet the entire Astor Group on it? All for a reasonably handsome young man. How interesting. How very, very interesting. Though his words were a warning, his actions were a provocation. He sent a text to Lilith. Lilith, it's been a while since you've visited the estate. Grandpa is ill and misses you. Make time to come home, and bring a new pet so we can all have a look. The message was dripping with contempt. The man Lilith held in the palm of her hand, dismissed by Hayden as a mere pet. In the complex world of the Astor dynasty, no one would ever truly respect Jax. Of course, Lilith didn't need their approval. Ever since her own loving father had thrown her into that inhuman organization at the age of 13, she had known that family was a joke. She didn't need anyone's permission to live her life. Meanwhile, at the Astor family estate, the old patriarch, Mr. Astor, sat in a rosewood chair, looking at the photo his grandson had sent him. His gaze lingered on Lilith's beautiful face. His eyes were failing him, and he slowly put on his reading glasses. After a long silence, he sighed. If only Luna were still alive, she would be as lovely as Lilith, wouldn't she? It's been months. Why hasn't she come to see this old man? Who is this young man with her? He's quite handsome, a good match for her. If it's serious, she should bring him home for me to meet. The old man, who had retired from the family business decades ago, lived a quiet life, using his poor health as an excuse to avoid the family's internal conflicts. He appeared to be a kind, gentle grandfather. Only those who truly knew him understood that his survival in this chaotic family was a testament to his cunning. He was the most intelligent and ruthless of them all. Sir, the young miss has married, as you arranged, the old butler said, his voice low, his expression grim. Though the first 7 grooms were not fortunate enough to survive, this 8th one seems to suit her tastes. His name is Jax Pierce. His status is common, but he is young and healthy. I'm sure you will have a great grandchild soon. Miss Lilith is more fortunate than Miss Luna was. She will surely continue the Astor line. The old Astor estate was nothing but a large, gilded cage, and Lilith had personally locked this beast inside it to torture him. But a beast never stays caged for long. The Astor curse. The women never live past 25. Time was running out. Perhaps it was time for Lilith to join her sister. Yes, the old man mused. Lilith has a fiery spirit. A child might calm her down. Once a woman becomes a mother, she loses her edge. Inside the top-floor office at Astor Group, the moment the door closed, Lilith pushed Jax against her massive rosewood desk. Her professional attire now seemed to exude a raw, dangerous sensuality. The icy, heartless CEO had turned into a total smoke show. She leaned in, her eyes slowly traveling down his body to his waist. She reached out, as if to ensnare him completely. Lily, what are you doing? His voice was a little shaky. This really wasn't the place. And hadn't he seen enough movies to know that CEO offices always had a hidden private lounge? That seemed a lot safer than the cold, serious office space. TSK, what are you afraid of? She murmured. Relax. I'm not going to eat you. She leaned past him, her hand brushing his waist as she retrieved a fingerprint scanner from the desk behind him. Jax let out a long breath, a strange mix of relief and disappointment. Damn, I must have been conditioned by now, he thought. I'm constantly thinking she's going to jump me, regardless of time or place. My mind is so dirty. But was the lady of the house really so innocent? Lilith took the scanner and personally recorded his fingerprint. Staring at the whorls and lines on his fingertip, she felt an urge. She licked her lips, suppressing her own wild thoughts. Lily, why don't you get to your work? He suggested. You don't have to entertain me. I'll just wait here. My time is yours today. How about I be your assistant? He was getting restless. He needed something to do. Lilith was notoriously strict about work. She had abandoned a pile of documents to come see him, so she nodded. Fine, but you are not to leave my sight. That was her bottom line. Once she found a source of warmth, she would cling to it like a vine, desperate to absorb it, to become one with it. Jax agreed. The executive office had everything, so he could even make her coffee without leaving the room. Soon, however, he was bored again. He went to the bookshelf to find something to read. As his hand brushed against the shelf, he felt a click. The bookshelf split in two and slid open automatically. Holy crap, those cheesy novels were right. There really is a secret room in the CEO's office. A dark room. The walls were plastered with photos of him. Him eating in the cafeteria, him playing basketball, him concentrating in class, him dozing off, him giving a presentation at a club meeting, and him, shirtless, sweating in the gym, him, tied up at Moonshadow Estate, exhausted and asleep, and one from their wedding night, him, completely. Jax's face went pale. His scalp tingled, and he couldn't breathe. The inner world of an obsessed woman was pure, terrifying madness. In the dark room, his photos covered every inch of the walls. On shelves and tables were dozens of lifelike dolls, their skin unnervingly smooth, their glass eyes all fixed on the doorway. It was as if they were greeting him. Lilith had been watching him the whole time. The moment he opened the secret room, a flicker of panic crossed her eyes. She quickly composed herself and walked over to him. Jax, what is it? She asked, her voice even. I had Nathan set up this room. I haven't even seen it myself yet. Is there a problem? She was already standing right next to him. Nathan? Jax could almost hear the frantic, uneven rhythm of her heart. No, no problem, he managed to say. It's clear your assistant is angling for promotion. He has a very accurate grasp of your tastes. No kidding, Jax thought. And what does Lilith love most? But me? Well, you must be tired, she said, having already finished the most urgent documents and handed them off to Nathan. She had cleared her schedule to communicate with Jax. Come rest with me. Her soft body pressed against his, her arms wrapping around his waist with unapologetic possessiveness. Jax, say my name, she demanded, her voice urgent. She knew he had just seen the deepest, darkest, most terrifying part of her obsession. She was afraid it had scared him, but a part of her was also excited. He knows another piece of the real me. If he was afraid, so what? She would just possess him so completely, keep him so busy, that he wouldn't have time to think. It was another way of letting him understand her. She pulled him into the room. The bookshelf slid shut behind them, plunging them into dim light. Jax's throat went dry. He felt a surge of panic. Aunt Lilith, did you take all these pictures? The words slipped out, a relic of his past fear, a defense mechanism he had used to create distance. He had always tried to see her as Chloe's aunt, a respected elder. The guilt of their relationship had been a heavy weight. His morals hadn't allowed him to sink so low. The moment he said it, he knew he'd messed up. Beep. Game over. He had crossed her ultimate red line. But this time, she didn't get angry. Instead, a slow, dangerous smile spread across her face. She pushed him onto the sofa in the room and straddled him. Show, she whispered. I took every single one. Her voice was a low, thrilling murmur. And even if you're scared, baby, you're not getting away this time. A familiar, metallic clinking sound echoed in the room. A moment later, Jax felt cold steel lock around his wrists and ankles. He was completely numb. Seriously? After all the progress I made. One wrong word, and it's back to square one. Jax was photographed again. This time, his face was paler, and his neck and chest were covered in a new collection of marks. He couldn't fight anymore and fell into a deep, exhausted sleep. When he opened his eyes again, the sun was high in the sky. He had slept the entire night in Lilith's office. He pushed himself up, his body aching, and opened the motorized curtains. Bright sunlight flooded the dark room, as if trying to cleanse the space of the previous night's activities. Lilith was truly insane, but for him it had also been a novel experience. He sat up. The spot next to him was cold. She had been gone for a while. His eyes fell on a familiar black card on the nightstand. He reached for it and saw that it wasn't just one card. It was a stack of 10. Next to them was a small note, written in her bold, assertive handwriting. Jax, I was out of control last night. I'm sorry I hurt you. I know you cut up the last card I gave you. These are new. You can cut up as many as you want this time. They're all activated. As my husband, you have the right to use them. Of course, I've restricted purchasing private aircraft. Otherwise, feel free to spend as you wish. As long as you don't leave me, whatever you want as compensation. I'll give it to you. Love, your Lily, degree, Jax saw the clumsily drawn emoji at the end and let out a laugh. Who could imagine the cold, domineering, pathologically possessive billionaire CEO trying to be cute for her husband? The contrast was adorable. He couldn't stay mad at her. To be honest, it wasn't like she was the only one who had enjoyed herself last night. In fact, he had been even more. His ears burned at the thought. Damn, the perks of being with a possessive billionaire. Only those chosen would ever know. He held the 10 black cards. He'd cut up one, and she'd replaced it with 10. He hadn't expected such an extravagant gesture. But he had no reason to refuse them this time. The Astor Group was already partially his, whether he liked it or not. His future was destined to be anything but ordinary. He pocketed the cards, showered, and went to the walk-in closet. It was filled with clothes tailored perfectly to his size, each outfit impeccably styled. Lilith's taste was flawless. He no longer had a dress like an out-of-date emo punk to repel her. The tight shirts and skinny jeans had been incredibly uncomfortable anyway. Now, he could dress how he wanted. He spent half an hour getting ready, choosing a casual but elegant suit that fit him perfectly. He was about to leave when the door opened. It was Lilith, now in a silk blouse and a cream-colored pencil skirt, her legs sheathed in flesh-toned stockings and matching heels. She looked powerful, polished, and surprisingly gentle. She was carrying a small bowl of delicate lotus seed soup. When she saw him, her eyes lit up, but then she quickly looked down, a hint of guilt in her expression. Jax, you must be hungry. I ordered breakfast. See if you like it. The 10-fingered woman who never cooked, one hand still bandaged from her previous injury, was holding out a bowl to him, looking almost shy. He knew the calluses on her hands weren't from kitchen work. They were from years of handling guns and knives. His heart softened. He could never stay angry with the person he loved. But he had to set some boundaries. He couldn't survive this kind of attention on a regular basis. He was a man, not a machine. I'm not hungry, he said, his voice flat. He had to make it clear that last night was not okay to repeat often. A week of that, and he'd end up in the morgue. You fed me so much last night. How could I possibly be hungry now? Lilith's face fell. He's really angry. I went too far. How was she supposed to fix this? This was outside her area of expertise. She only knew one way to solve problems. At Kingston University, after a morning of playing the victim, Jax was finally allowed to go to school, but only after being hand-fed a bowl of lotus seed soup that Lilith personally made. He did not, however, cut up the 10 black cards she'd given him. He wasn't that stupid anymore. These cards were more than just money. They were a key to power. Dude, are you sick? Sam asked, looking at his friend with concern. You look more drained every day. You need to start taking some vitamins or something. Jax looked handsome, sure, but he also looked completely depleted. It was probably from overexertion. Sam had to admit his friend's new lifestyle wasn't easy. What normal guy could handle that kind of pressure? Shut up, Jack snapped. I'm not drained. You have no idea how good I have it. He had no classes that morning, but he needed to go to the student government office to deal with a backlog of work. As the controversially appointed student government president, he had at first been overwhelmed, but now he handled the responsibilities with ease. Of course, he had previously used his power to grant Chloe every possible favor, making her life at the university a breeze. It was one of the reasons she hadn't dumped him sooner. Jax, why are we going to the external affairs department? Sam asked as they entered the professional-looking suite of offices that housed the student government. To make some money, Jax said, walking directly to the desk of Sean Zhao. In his past life, Jax knew that Sean's grandfather was a brilliant, undiscovered painter. After his death, his work would sell for millions, hailed as masterpieces. But right now, his paintings were being devalued by a crooked establishment, the Artisan's Eye Gallery, which was trying to buy them for a few $100s apiece. The gallery was notorious for exploiting artists, buying their life's work for pennies and then reselling it for fortunes. The grandfather's most famous piece, The Fisherman, would one day become a museum's crown jewel, its value immeasurable. Jax knew that the future art world giant was currently so broke he couldn't even afford his medical bills, forcing him to sell his entire collection to the most ruthless gallery in New York. He asked around and found out Sean wasn't there. Guessing where he might be, Jax got his address, bought some fruit and nutritional supplements, and dragged Sam to a rundown Park Queens. As they approached the small house, they heard shouting, "This is outrageous! My grandfather's paintings are works of art. You can't just lowball us like this. You're crooks." Sean's voice was shaking with anger. He and his grandfather lived a frugal life in a tiny apartment, rich in spirit but poor in everything else. Now his grandfather was sick, and their only assets were the paintings. He had no choice but to sell. He just hadn't expected the gallery to be so predatory. "Kid, don't be foolish," a man in a slick suit said, looking around the cramped room with disdain. "This is just paper and paint. We're offering you a few thousand for this junk out of the goodness of our hearts. Don't mistake our charity for weakness. If you don't take this money, your grandfather might not make it through the night. Is that the kind of grandson you want to be?" The manager was a shrewd judge of talent. He knew the old man's paintings were masterpieces, each one a profound reflection on life and time. But he was a businessman, not a philanthropist. His goal was to buy low and sell high. He was using emotional blackmail to force the kid's hand. The air was thick with tension. Well, what do we have here?" Jack said, pushing the door open. The cramped, run-down apartment was familiar to him from his own childhood. Since when did these become junk? Judging a painting by its raw materials? And you call yourself a gallery manager? Looks like the garbage truck is early today. You better get out there before they miss you. Jack's gaze settled on Sean. He was a finance major and had always been one of the best fundraisers in external affairs. Jax had always recognized his talent. In the future, he would become a major player in the financial world, recruited by Jax's sister, Morgan, on his own recommendation. He had been a huge asset to the Pierce family's company. But Jax wasn't playing the fool anymore. Why would he give such a valuable asset away? "Jax, what are you doing here?" Sean asked, surprised. "I'm dealing with some personal stuff. Is there something new for external affairs?" "These paintings," Jack said, his voice firm. "I'll buy them. $100,000. Sean, I'll cover your grandfather's medical bills, too. On one condition." Jax wasn't a saint, but when he could do good while also furthering his own interests, he was happy to play the hero. Sean was floored. He had been home taking care of his grandfather and hadn't been keeping up with campus gossip. He could barely recognize the formerly punk-style Jax, and he knew for a fact that Jax was broke. He was always chasing prize money from competitions. Was he here to show off? Sean didn't have time for games. He needed money now. "Yeah, you're just a college kid, right?" the manager sneered. $100,000? Where's a broke student like you going to get that kind of money? I get it, you're trying to stick up for your friend, but when you can't deliver, you'll have just chased away his only real buyer. Are you trying to kill his grandfather? He turned to Sean. "This friend of yours is just making trouble. You'd better get rid of him, or I won't even give you a few thousand for this garbage." Sean was torn. Sam tugged on Jax's arm. "Jax, come on, don't mess this up for him. You don't know anything about art. The gallery is only offering a few grand. If you want to help, give him 10,000. You don't have to throw away 100. That's just crazy." Sean's face fell. He thought they were just mocking him. "President Pierce, please, just go," he said, his voice strained. "Stop joking around. I really need the money." Jax didn't move. "Sam, the $2,000 in cash I gave you this morning. Give it to Sean. Now." Sam, though confused, trusted his friend. He pulled out a thick wad of bills and placed it on the table. Sean stared at the cash, then at Jax, his eyes wide with shock. He's serious?" "Now," Jax said, his voice calm. "Can we talk?" The gallery manager's face darkened. He knew these paintings were worth far more. He had a rival. "Kid, do you understand how this works? First come, first served. Get out of here and stop interfering with my business." "Oh, so art sales are first come, first served now? Not highest bidder? Should I let Ethelred's auction house know about your new rule?" Jax asked coolly. Ethelred's was the premier auction house where the gallery sold its high-end pieces to the city's elite. The manager paled. He couldn't afford to offend them. But how did this ordinary college kid know about Ethelred's? And where did he get $2,000 in cash? Maybe it was a bluff. Anyone in the know would realize these paintings were worth a fortune. Any one of them could fetch millions. 5,000, the manager snapped. "Sean, I'm doing this as a charity case because your grandfather is sick. Sell them to me right now, and I'll give you 5,000 in cash." Sean wavered. 5,000 would pay for better medical care. It was far more than he had expected. He was about to nod when a frail voice coughed from the other room. "Manager, we're not selling to you." The old man spoke, his voice weak but clear. "And young man, that $2,000 is not easy for you to earn. Thank you for being willing to part with it to save my paintings. I will sell them to you." The old man was sharp. He knew the manager was trying to swindle him. "Old man, don't push your luck," the manager snarled, his face twisting in anger. You know our gallery's reputation. If you sell to some no-name private buyer, these paintings will never see the light of day. They'll never be recognized. You turn on Jax. And you broke punk? What right do you have to interfere with our business? Do you have any idea who you're messing with? Jax laughed. I don't care who you are. Go find a brain before you try talking to me again. I said 100,000, and I meant 100,000. And I will take care of your grandfather's medical bills, as I promised. A master like him deserves to be treated with respect. Sean and his grandfather stared at him, dumbfounded. Does this kid really have that kind of money? Sam just looked at the manager with pity. You have no idea, do you? The last guy who messed with my bro, he got a personal one-on-one meeting with the bottom of a freshly dug grave, courtesy of our doting lady of the house. Hilarious. If a broke college kid like you can actually pull $1 million out of your ass to buy this junk, I might even be impressed. Idiot, Jax muttered. Who the hell was this guy? Jax didn't need his approval. Sam Cole shot the gallery manager a look of contempt and told him to get lost. On the way over, Jax had told him to call for an ambulance. It was already waiting downstairs. Sam had no idea how Jax seemed to have predicted the future, knowing that Sean's grandfather was sick, but that was just how it was. Riding with Jax meant good things were coming. He didn't have to think. He just had to do. Hey kid, what's your name? The manager snarled, pointing a finger at Jax. He couldn't believe this punk had cost him such a massive sale. Landon Holt, Jax said deadpan. Kingston University. I don't change my name for anyone. You got a problem with me, come find me. I'm always available. Sean Zhao and Sam Cole stared dumbfounded. Dude, you're a pro at passing the buck. The manager stormed off, muttering curses under his breath. He wasn't giving up on this deal. The paintings had just gone from an old man and his grandson to a broke, powerless college student. This new owner would be even easier to manipulate. Just you wait, he thought. Inside the hospital, Sean's grandfather was admitted to the ICU. After setting aside 2 paintings that held special meaning for him, Sean sold the rest to Jax without hesitation. Jax contacted Mako and Rhino, telling them to send a team to collect the art and take it back to Moonshadow Estate for cataloging. He wanted every piece professionally framed and organized by style, school, and timeline by an expert appraiser. In the hospital corridor, Sean finally spoke. Jax, I'll accept your offer. At first, Sean thought Jax was lying, but it was all real. His grandfather was getting the best possible care the moment they arrived. And after Jax got his account number in the car, $1 million had been wired directly to him. With the $20,000 in cash from earlier, Jax had given him a total of $1,020,000. Was he really worth that much? The extra $20,000 is a show of good faith, Jax said. I'm formally inviting you to be one of the founding partners of my new company, JX Tech. Jax was a sophomore, and the department's internship requirement was looming. But thanks to the Pierce family's bad-mouthing, he couldn't find a single position in his field anywhere in New York City. No one would hire him, which meant he couldn't get his internship form signed. He knew it was a power play by the Pierces, a way to put him in his place. But who said you had to work for someone else to complete an internship? He could be his own boss and sign his own damn papers. Work for someone else? Never again. Not in this lifetime. Was being a kept man not good enough? Was being his own boss not better? A company? You started a company. Sean's eyes widened. Okay, I'm in. I'll follow you. In his past life, Sean had also chosen to follow Jax. But Jax, seeing his immense talent, had thought he would be better suited to help his eldest sister's finance firm. He had personally recommended Sean to Morgan Pierce. Good, Jax said, satisfied. He had already spent $30 million to lease an entire floor of a downtown skyscraper for the new company headquarters. With that settled, Jax turned to leave. As he reached the end of the hall, a familiar figure stepped out from a room, nearly colliding with him. Jax quickly stepped back, a wave of revulsion washing over him at the familiar presence. Morgan Pierce's headache had finally eased a bit. After working all night, she had come to the hospital for a follow-up. Seeing Jax was an unexpected surprise. She was dressed in a chic, London-inspired long coat, its minimalist lines exuding an understated elegance. Beneath it, she wore a linen silk blend blouse and a high-waisted pencil skirt that accentuated her waist, giving her an aura of sharp, sophisticated authority. Morgan paused. A sense of knowing settled over her. Of course. He was worried about me. He followed me to the hospital. She saw Jax turn to leave. He's probably embarrassed I caught him caring about me, she thought, and called out to him first. Jax, did you come all this way just to bring me my massage oil? I've had this headache for days. It took you long enough. Were you trying to let me die from the pain? Jax stopped in his tracks, a string of question marks floating over his head. Was she out of her mind? Morgan, are you a sewer rat that took a dip in the ocean and now thinks it's lobster? He sneered. If you don't have a mirror at home, surely you have a toilet bowl. If not, I can have Sam here piss in a cup for you. Sam's eyes widened. Huh? The crude words made Morgan, who prided herself on her refined and noble bearing, go cold. She immediately adopted her big sister tone. Jax, you are unbearably coarse. You can't compare to Caleb's good manners and education. 4 years with the Pierce family, and you still haven't absorbed a shred of high society culture. Do you plan to spend your whole life as a disgusting rat in the gutter? You're so repulsive. You don't deserve to be my brother. Morgan's disgust was palpable. If it weren't for her splitting headache, she wouldn't have stooped to even thinking about Jax, let alone his oil. And now he was deliberately provoking her. Her pride as the eldest sister made it even more impossible to ask for the damn massage oil now. Funny you should say that, because I have zero interest in being your brother, Jax shot back. And a good dog doesn't block the path. So move. Morgan was furious. The headache, already severe, intensified. She pressed a hand to her forehead, her face turning pale. The worse she felt, the more determined she was not to let him leave. Stop. I know you've always been unhappy that I favor Caleb, but it's a fact that you're inferior to him in every way. As your older sister, I'm not trying to just criticize you. How about this? Leave the massage oil, admit your mistakes, and I'll take you back to the family. You can go kneel and beg Mom and Dad for forgiveness, and I'll personally plead your case. You'll only have to spend 2 days groveling at the estate. Jax, that's the best I can do for you. She paused, thinking she was adding a trump card. You need an internship, don't you? As long as you agree, you'll still be a young master of the Pierce family. No one will dare refuse you a job. Morgan's expression turned haughty, as if this was the best possible outcome Jax could ever hope for, a prize to be won only through desperate apology. TSK, that's hilarious, Jax said. What, does the Pierce family have a throne I'm supposed to inherit? I have to get on my knees and beg to be let back in? The monarchy fell a long time ago, princess, and delusional fantasies are a dead end. Besides, didn't you always say my calming oil was useless? That it was Caleb who improved your mood and eased your headaches? Well, if your head hurts, go find your precious little brother Caleb to soothe you. What the hell does it have to do with me? With that, Jax turned and strode away without a backward glance. Morgan lunged, trying to grab his arm. Jax, did I say you could leave? She screeched. I am your older sister. You will listen to me. Forget the oil for a second. Did you or did you not hack into the company's servers and delete the confidential files? Hand over the backup now, or don't blame me for taking you to court. These past few days, Morgan hadn't just been suffering from headaches. She'd been desperately trying to find a hacker to repair Pierce's financial's internal systems, all to no avail. Combined with Jax's recent defiance, she was sure this was his revenge. Go ahead, sue me, Jax said dismissively. You have proof? Or are you just blindly believing Caleb's lies again? As I recall, you gave Caleb the password to the Pierce financial database the first chance he got. As for me, you've never trusted me. How would I even have the password? Leaving that loaded question hanging in the air, Jax walked away without an ounce of pity. He'd been framed by the Pierces so many times he was numb to it. There was no more sadness or disappointment, just a profound sense of exasperation. Did they really think he was still the same old doormat? Jax and Sam left the hospital and drove to the downtown skyscraper. The brand new office was directly across from the Astor Group headquarters. Jax had specifically paid an extra $5 million in rent to secure the top floor of the building. His office wasn't as high as Lily's, but it was the closest vantage point to the Astor Group's CEO office in the entire complex. Dude, we're finance majors, Sam said, looking around the empty space. Why are you starting a tech company? I know you've tinkered with some small inventions, but that's a whole different league from running a research company. Be honest, man. Do you actually know anything about tech? Jax raised an eyebrow. I know a thing or two. He still had a lot to learn, but the path forward was already clear to him. Reborn from the future, he had to seize the great trends of the era. Sam's heart sank. This feels like Jax is about to take Lily's massive investment and flush it straight down the toilet. Then again, Lily was probably just happy to see him spend her money. She'd probably rather lock him up for her personal enjoyment day and night than worry about whether his new venture would actually make a profit. In the future, AI will be the biggest trend in global tech development, Jax explained. Right now, the big thing is the influencer economy, so we need to get into social media too. But I'm going to assemble a research team first and prioritize developing AI technology. He would be at the forefront of the industry of the future. AI? I don't get it. Sam was skeptical. It was like some switch had been flipped in Jax's brain. The transformation was so complete that even Sam barely recognized him. But whatever, man. Whatever you're doing, I'm in. I believe in you. You're going to succeed. Sam's faith was unwavering. Here's $1 million, Jack said, transferring the money. That villa and hypercar Lily gave you must be expensive to maintain, right? I know you're too proud to sell the gifts my wife gave you, but the homeowners association fees in that neighborhood are tens of thousands a month. A student can't cover that. Take this, use it. You don't have to pay it back. Jax felt a deep-seated guilt for what had happened to Sam in his past life. Now, he wanted to make up for it, arranging everything to the smallest detail. As for Sam's girlfriend, Kira, she was probably already cheating on him. He had to make Sam see the truth before the tragedy could repeat itself. In his past life, Sam had taken his own life because he blamed himself, believing he hadn't been strong enough to protect Kira from being taken advantage of by some rich heir. But after his rebirth, Jax had specifically asked Mako to investigate. While Chloe Vance had certainly played a role in pushing Kira toward the rich kid, the truth was that Kira herself had been a willing participant. It was consensual. Knowing this, Jax had no intention of trying to pull Kira back from the brink. Ultimately, after her life fell apart, she had deliberately run back to Sam, playing the victim. She was the one who had dragged Sam into a fatal spiral. She couldn't face her own life, so she decided to take someone down with her. If she had to blame someone, it should have been the rich heir who ruined her. Instead, she exploited Sam's kindness, forging him into a sword for her revenge, driving him to a point of such despair that he ended his life to clear her name in the court of public opinion. As if that could somehow beautify the fact that she had sold her body for vanity. Not in Jax's book. He wouldn't let Sam repeat that mistake. As for Kira, he would respect the consequences of her choices. He would allow things to happen and coldly watch her reap what she sowed. Whoa, dude, you're too good to me. Sam was dizzy from the sheer generosity. It's a damn shame I'm not a girl. If I was, I'd be all yours, man. Bro, I love you. He looked like he was about to throw himself at Jax. But the next second, Jax shoved him away. Not interested in guys, Jax said flatly. And definitely not. Whatever you are. He feigned a gag. Sam just laughed, looking genuinely happy, and the guilt in Jax's heart eased, if only a little. Hey, I'm not whatever. Ugh. The sprawling office floor was already furnished with desks and cabinets. All it needed were computers, printers, and other equipment. Jax transferred another sum of money to Sam. This time, the $200,000 he'd squeezed out of Sierra. He kept a running tab of every penny of his wife's money he spent. A man could accept seed money from his wife, but he had to pay it back 1,000 times over in the future. Back at Moonshadow Estate, Lily was in the study handling some work, while Jax was drafting a business proposal. In his past life, he'd managed all of Morgan's most difficult projects at her finance firm, even writing many of the proposals himself. He was experienced in the process of starting a company, but it was still a lot of work. Lily finished her tasks and noticed Jax's attention was completely absorbed by something else. A flicker of unease stirred within her. Jax was engrossed in his proposal, but he was also keeping one eye on his Yandra wife, making sure she wasn't hungry or thirsty. Even while working, he was quick to refill her water or bring her dessert. Now, feeling her discontented, slightly resentful gaze on him, he stood up and walked over to where she sat in her large office chair. He gently stroked her cool, pale cheek with his rough fingertips. "Babe, you hungry?" he murmured. "What do you want to eat? I'll go cook." Jax glanced at the clock. It was already 1 a.m. They were a pair of workaholics. "No need," she said. "What are you working on?" "I heard you started a company. If you run into any operational difficulties, you can ask me. I can guide you, teach you the ropes." The news of Jax's company naturally hadn't escaped her notice. In fact, seeing him willing to spend her money gave her an unprecedented sense of security. The old Jax had been repulsed by any financial entanglement with her. Now, he was happy to use her money. Did that mean he finally saw her as one of his own? A genuine joy bloomed in her heart. She couldn't help but wrap her arms around his firm waist, pressing her face against his chiseled abs. "You're helping me so much," Jax teased. "Aren't you worried that if I get rich, I'll just run away?" "Not worried," she purred, her voice a low hum against his stomach. "This little venture of yours isn't big enough to escape my grasp. Is that so?" Jax knew she was right. For now, his company was just a small-time operation. But in the future, he would become a titan of the industry. "Well, why don't you try tonight?" she whispered, her voice dropping to a husky murmur. "See if you can escape my grasp." Jax froze. "Damn it. My body is writing checks my energy level can't cash." Babe, we were talking business," Jax tried, attempting to be playful. It fell flat. His body wasn't cooperating. "Yes," she purred, a sly smile gracing her lips, her eyes dancing with a wicked, captivating light. "I'm being serious, too." She was already holding him, and now she slid a hand under his shirt, her fingers tracing the lines of his abdomen. It felt like her touch was just moments away from striking a critical blow. Jax's body went rigid, a flush creeping up his neck. How do you handle a Yandra wife? Asking for friend. It's urgent. Lily gave him no time to be shy. Her slender fingers toyed with his abs. A good body, she mused, was truly a man's best dowry. She was exceptionally pleased with his. Jax, sit down. Lily stood up, vacating her throne-like office chair for him. Then, the domineering, bewitching woman sat squarely on his lap, wrapping her arms around his neck and resting her head gently in the crook of his shoulder. Her sudden docility was startling. I looked at your business plan, she said softly. The idea is excellent, and it's very feasible. The man I chose is truly exceptional. You're destined for bigger things. I believe you can make this company a huge success. More than her sudden softness in his arms, it was her unconditional trust that shocked Jax. At the Pierce household, no one had ever believed in him. But here, with Lily, even after he had rejected her countless times and told her to get lost, she still trusted him, even gave him everything without question. To have a wife like this, what more could a man ask for? Jax swore to himself that he would treat her better, so much better from now on. Lily, are you really so confident in me? He asked, still a little dazed. This concept can't lose, she said. Of course, if you need help finding talent for AI development, the Astor Pierce International Group will always be your backup. Jax, you're also my eternal sanctuary. She paused, her voice tinged with a soft, fragile quality. Don't leave me. In this world, you're all I have left. The fiercely domineering heiress, usually bristling with aggression, sounded so different tonight. Had something happened? Lily clung to him, her weight negligible as she leaned into his embrace, her eyes closed, as docile as a harmless kitten. A wave of tenderness washed over Jax. He leaned down and kissed her between the eyebrows. The soft touch landed on a heart he knew had long been cold and merciless. Don't be afraid, Lily. No matter what happens, I will never leave you. Sleep now. Jax carefully gathered her into his arms, preparing to carry her to the bedroom. His business plan seemed insignificant in comparison. He lifted her effortlessly, a princess carry, and started toward the bedroom. Once they were inside the room, Lily slowly opened her eyes. Her fingertips drifted to the buttons on his collar as she whispered in his ear, Jax, I haven't bathed yet. I'm tired today. Will you wash me? Jax's steps faltered. He nearly dropped the beautiful woman in his arms, but his self-control held steady. What? I don't know if that's a good idea. He couldn't help but blush. Lily was the only woman he'd ever been with. Chloe had barely let him touch her hand. His entire exploration of women came from Lily, and every time, he had been left wanting more. But he had never been the one to take the initiative. Out of shyness, most of their encounters had been in the dark, with Lily tormenting him in various ways. But now, he was supposed to personally bathe her. He wouldn't have dared to do that in his past life, even if she'd threatened to kill him. What was she planning? Was this a test of his self-control? What's not good about it? She purred. Is my body not good enough? Am I not beautiful enough? Or, if it were Chloe, you'd be willing, wouldn't you? Jax, I know you used to see me as an elder you had to respect, but now we're husband and wife, and a husband and wife should be honest and open with each other. Jax gently set her down. Her feet, nails painted a deep crimson, landed on the plush carpet. Before he had time to think, Lily was already unbuttoning his shirt. She seemed to find the pace too slow. With a sharp tug, she ripped it open. Rear up. TSK. I'm blacklisting this brand. The clothes they made for you are so flimsy. They tear with the slightest pull. Lily said, playing the innocent aggressor, looking up at him with a coquettish smile. The high and mighty CEO by day was so wickedly seductive at night. Jax's throat tightened. He felt a wave of heat. You're right, Lily, he managed to say. I should overcome this. As a man, I should be the one to take the initiative, not let you always have this insecurity and be the one to act on it. I'll go run the bath. You wait for me, okay, babe? With his shirt now torn and discarded on the floor, Jax oiled his feet and bolted for the bathroom. Crap. Not only was he running on fumes, but the sudden excitement sent a rush of heat to his head and gave him a nosebleed. He quickly grabbed a towel to wipe it away and started filling the tub. The master bathroom in Moonshadow Estate was massive, more like a small swimming pool. But the automated systems were highly efficient, and the water began to pour out at the perfect, preset temperature. Looking at it all, Jax couldn't help but think again, being rich is fucking awesome. He had truly been a fool in his past life, taking this for granted. He'd almost used this beautiful, enormous bathtub to drown himself just to force Lily to let him go. He'd really gone down the wrong path. As the water level rose, sending clouds of steam into the air, Jax heard a sound behind him. He turned, and another wave of heat rushed to his head. The nosebleed started again. Lily had changed out of her professional attire and was now wearing a black lace nightgown. The sexy cut revealed her long, slender, perfectly straight legs. Her wavy, dark red hair was loose, cascading over her shoulders and the swell of her chest. She looked like a soul-stealing siren, absolutely breathtaking. Lily's red lips parted. She blinked when she saw his nosebleed, then let out a soft laugh. "Jax, so full of vigor, are we? It seems I'll need to get you some medicine to cool you down." She walked closer, perching on the edge of the tub. "Husband, what are you waiting for? First, help me take this off. Then, you can rub my shoulders." As she spoke, she turned, presenting her back to him. The silk nightgown was held together by two simple butterfly knots, one at the nape of her neck and one at her lower back. It looked like all he had to do was pull. Jax shook his head, trying to clear away the wild thoughts. Lily trusted him so much. He couldn't let his base instincts take over. Besides, her back was so pale, so smooth, so flawless. It would be a shame not to do cupping on it. With that bizarre thought, he moved closer, gritted his teeth, and pulled both knots at once. He heard Lily let out a soft gasp. His vision filled with an expanse of pale skin, and his own face flushed red. Splash! Lily slid gracefully into the water. Jax swallowed hard. Well, we've come this far, he thought. Might as well give her a massage. Coincidentally, he brought all the calming essential oils from the Pierce house with him, not leaving a single drop for them. "Lily, you stay right there. I'm gonna go get the oil." Lily slowly glided to the edge of the tub, resting her head on her folded arms. "So my Jax has a romantic side, does he?" "Oh God," Jax screamed internally. "It's calming oil, not come on oil." In the bathroom, Jax was sweating bullets. Giving his Yandera wife a massage with calming essential oils in a steamy tub had an unexpected effect. Nothing was calmed, and he was nearly annihilated. Fortunately, at the last moment, his sanity took over, and he managed to steer his wandering hands back onto the correct path. That night, his dreams were filled with the image of Lily lying on the massage table in the tub, looking back at him with an expression that was both hesitant and full of longing. It was a sin, a true sin. Luckily, Lily had been exhausted from work lately, and being near him always helped her sleep soundly. The scent of Jax, mixed with the fragrance of the calming oil, lulled her into a deep slumber in the misty bathroom. Seeing her asleep, Jax's nerves finally relaxed. He let out a sigh of relief. He stood up, carefully rinsed her off one more time, then wrapped her in a fresh, fluffy towel. He lifted the sleeping woman and carried her gently back to the bedroom, placing her on the bed. But after all that, Jax didn't climb into bed himself. Instead, he walked to the sides of the bed and pulled out the very chains Lily had once used to bind him. He worked quietly, making sure not to make a sound that would wake her. Then, with a calm determination, he locked the shackles around Lily's wrists and ankles, ensuring every limb was secured. He gathered all the keys he knew of and stuffed them into his pocket. Only then did he tiptoe out of the bedroom. He thought his plan was foolproof. He didn't notice that the moment the bedroom door clicked shut, the woman who was supposed to be fast asleep on the bed opened her eyes. Her gaze was a swirling vortex of complex, cold emotions. "Jax, you dare to lock me up? What are you planning this time?" A bitter, self-deprecating smile touched Lily's lips. She glanced at a red-gowned doll sitting on a bookshelf. "Luna, release me." At her command, the skin of the beautifully dressed doll seemed to become as lifelike as a living person's. Its clear, glass-like eyes, which had been fixed, suddenly moved. "Lily's sister, he's bad," the doll chirped in the voice of a 4- or 5-year-old girl. The sing-song, childish tone was utterly eerie in the dead of night. "He doesn't want you anymore. Luna does." Then, the red-gowned doll began to move. If Jax had been there, he would have recognized it. It was the same doll Lily had clutched in her arms in his past life on the night she had slaughtered the Pierce family, its face smeared with blood. Back then, the doll's mouth had seemed to hold the undigested remnants of flesh. In the master bedroom, the sound of chains clattering to the floor was the sound of the bloodthirsty Heiress regaining her freedom. She changed into a red dress, her bare feet silent on the plush carpet as she glided out of the room. After locking up Lily and carefully drawing the curtains in the master bedroom, Jax slipped out and took up a position by the living room door. He checked his phone. It was almost 2 a.m. The date was right. The time was right. He was lying in wait for Leo Astor, who, in his past life, had deliberately lured him to the basement to terrorize him. Sure enough, just as he hid behind the door, a shadowy figure snuck into Moonshadow Estate. The figure moved unimpeded up to the second floor, stopping at the door to the room where Jax had often been locked up as punishment. He produced a key, unlocked the door, and stepped inside. Huh, I heard Jax was being punished in here, Leo muttered. Why is no one here? Leo was puzzled. He had specifically chosen tonight and brought a whole bag of high-potency itching powder to teach Jax a lesson. The Astor family was not a place Jax could act out of line. This place was named Astor, not Pierce. In his past life, at this exact moment, Jax had angered Lily and was being punished, chained to the large bed in this room. To prevent his escape, he'd been deprived of food for 2 days, given only water, and was extremely weak. On that night, Leo had bribed a guard at Moonshadow Estate and used his family credentials to slip inside and enter Jax's room. He had first dumped a whole bag of itching powder on him. Then, he had dragged him to the entrance of Lily's secret basement, a place he had only peeked into before. He had a vague idea of Lily's terrifying, cruel methods. But the full-blown terror that made him want to flee from her, all of it stemmed from that one night. Leo had shoved him into the dark room, where Lily supposedly went to control her sickness, to suppress her madness. He made him look at the tools, one by one, which looked like instruments of torture. The chains were child's play. There were saw-toothed hooks, an axe with a handle as thick as an arm, even ancient torture devices like a blood dripper and a steel-plated bed. He had been locked in Lily's dark rooms many times, but he had never seen a room so horrifying. At that moment, he thought he had glimpsed the darkest, most vicious side of Lily. He just wanted to escape, but the itching powder held him back. Even a small amount was enough to drive a person mad, an itch that felt like it was clawing at his heart and lungs. Leo had poured an entire bottle on him. It wasn't just his skin that itched. He felt like insects were crawling inside his bones. He scratched frantically, breaking the skin, trying to claw at the pain in his bones. He crawled slowly toward Lily's so-called torture instruments. If I just cut open my flesh, maybe it won't itch so much. He had thought that then. An axe appeared before his eyes. It was Leo, holding it out. Jax, use this. Slit your arm open. The itching will stop. The itching was unbearable. As if possessed, he had reached out, taken the axe, and brought it down toward his own arm. The bone-deep itch was more piercing than any physical sensation. His nails had already torn his skin to bloody ribbons, but he couldn't feel the pain. It was completely eclipsed by the itch. The moment the axe blade bit into his flesh, searing pain finally overwhelmed the itching. His mind cleared with a deafening buzz, and he stopped himself from pressing down any harder. Seeing this, Leo's triumphant smile faltered, his eyes filled with a dark resentment. What are you stopping for? Keep cutting. Jax, you're a worthless piece of trash. You'll never be worthy of my sister. The fact that you can even touch the hem of her skirt is a blessing. But you're a fool who doesn't appreciate his good fortune. You dare to bully her again and again. Now you're going to pay for it. Today, I'm going to teach you the first lesson of entering the Astor family. This isn't a place for any stray cat or dog. As Leo spoke, he moved to grab the axe from Jax's hands to help him continue cutting. In that moment, Jax truly understood. There was not a single normal person in the Astor family. They were all psychos. If Lily wasn't the craziest of them all, she would have been devoured by this pack of lunatics long ago. At that time, Jax had been curled up on the basement floor, the pain in his arm providing only a slight reprieve from the itch. It wasn't enough. He could only writhe on the ground, in a state worse than death. In that moment, he had hated Lily with every fiber of his being. It was she who had dragged him to Moonshadow Estate and imprisoned him, turning him into a plaything for her insane family to torture at will. But before he died, as Lily curled up his arms, she had clung to his neck and whispered, Jax, I cut off my brother's hand. They were right. I'm a monster. I can harm my own flesh and blood without a second thought. I never wanted my hands to be stained with so much family blood. They forced me. Jax, if there's a next life, I hope my hands can be clean. I want to be the kind of pure, innocent girl you like. But I can never be that now. I won't give anyone the chance to bully you. At that time, Jax had just let her lean on him, tears streaming down his face. He had wanted to reach out, to stroke her hair and comfort her, but he found he no longer had the strength to even lift his hand. Pain. It was too much pain. So this time, Jax planned to handle this dirty business himself. Leo stood at the doorway, completely unaware that everything had changed. To ensure the night's events followed the script of his past life, Jax had even found and bribed the same guard Leo had bribed before. All for this one night, for his revenge on Leo. He had to do it himself. Leo looked at the empty room, a flicker of suspicion in his eyes. But this was Moonshadow Estate, and he was half a master here. He boldly walked in, clutching the bag of itching powder. He saw a raised shape under the covers on the bed. Looks like Jax is so exhausted from his ordeal that he's fast asleep. Good. Makes things easier for me. Leo strode forward and, just as he had in the past, dumped the entire bag of itching powder onto the figure on the bed. The next second, the blanket was whipped up and the cloud of powder was flung directly back into Leo's face. He stumbled backward, falling to the ground in terror. Jax, how are you not in the bed? You ambushed me. Leo was furious. He was the young master of the Astor family, Lily's own brother. Even if he did something to Jax, the worst his sister would do was give him a harsh lesson. And if one harsh lesson could get rid of Jax and stop him from pushing his sister to the brink again, it was all worth it. His sister had told him to stay out of it, but he had heard the rumors. Jax's repeated escape attempts were agitating her. She had a genetic illness. She wouldn't live past 25. If Jax kept provoking her like this, he was afraid she wouldn't even make it to 22. Getting rid of Jax was imperative. And in his past life, he had almost succeeded in killing Jax. It was only because Jax had incredible luck that Lily had appeared at the critical moment. She had lunged toward Jax, then used a scythe to slice off 2 of Leo's fingers. Leo, you touch him, you die. Leo had stared in disbelief, retreating with an innocent, wounded expression, holding up his hands. Sister, he's not worthy of you. He still has another woman in his heart. He's not worth it. Lily hadn't wasted words. She'd had her men tie him up. Tell me who put you up to this. Otherwise, you know my methods. Before losing consciousness, Jax had felt his life draining away, his body turning ice cold. But then, something hot had splashed on his cold face. Lily was holding him, the proud, vicious Yandra Heiress, now as fragile as a glass doll, looking like she could shatter at any moment. Jax, I love you. I won't let you die. If you really die, I'll have a double coffin made, and I'll hold you just like this as we're buried. We'll be together, even in death. Jax, filled with venomous hatred, had pushed her away, shaking his head and spitting out with what little strength he had. No, I don't want to. You psycho, stay out of my grave. And now, Jax stood in the same room. He watched coldly as Leo, just like him in the past, writhed on the floor in agony, twisting like a maggot. You reap what you sow. But this little bit of revenge wasn't enough. Jax walked forward and took a black leather whip from the nightstand. It wasn't something he had prepared. He had swiped it from Lily's little darkroom. He glanced down at Leo, who was starting to claw at himself. The privileged young master's pale skin was quickly covered in bloody scratches. But it wasn't enough. Jax methodically pulled a pair of gloves from a drawer and put them on. Then he bent down, wrapped the whip around Leo's hands, took off his own socks, and stuffed one into Leo's mouth. He didn't want a noise to wake Lily. MMPH. MMPH. MMPHH. Help me. Jax is insane. Jax dragged Leo out of the room by the whip. The friction against the floor only made the itching worse. He wanted to scratch, but his hands were bound. This was a living hell. Was Jax giving him a taste of his own medicine? When Leo saw that Jax was dragging him toward his sister's forbidden basement, he truly began to panic. Why? Why does Jax know my entire plan? I didn't even tell the guard I bribed. Inside the basement, Jax threw Leo into the dark room he knew so well. This was the place where Leo had forced him to take an axe to his own arm. He unwrapped the whip, and with a gloved hand, pinched Leo's chin and disgustingly pulled the sock from his mouth. Well, little Lord Astor, you're just a bottle of poison with a fancy label, aren't you? What's wrong? You're getting a taste of your own medicine, and now you're feeling sorry for yourself. Jax said, then casually walked over to a surgical table and expertly picked up a bottle of iodine. Seeing this, Leo's blood ran cold. Jax, what the hell are you doing? I was just playing a prank on you. A joke. I never meant to hurt you. Besides, I've got this itching powder on me now. I've been punished. I'll never mess with you again. I'm begging you. Let me go. Leo was truly terrified. His entire body was a torment, and he wanted to roll on the ground, but his innate aristocratic pride forced him to endure without making such a disgraceful scene. But then he looked up and saw Jax soaking the leather whip in iodine. What the hell is this? Beating him wasn't enough? Jax wanted to poison him too? The more Leo thought, the more he panicked. The itching forced him to writhe on the floor like a worm. His dignity was in tatters, but his life was more important. He finally gave in. Who put you up to this? Jax asked coolly. His handsome face was cloaked in shadow, making him look like a bloodthirsty executioner. This familiar, oppressive feeling. It was just like his sister. How could Jax be as psychotic as she was? And no one put me up to it. It was just me. I was just playing a prank. Jax, please let me go. TSK. You think you can call me Jax? Crack. The whip lashed across Leo's back without a shred of mercy, splitting the skin. Jax watched, his expression unchanged. He was being humane, really. Whip soaked in iodine, disinfecting as I go. Of course, he'd never admit that the searing sting of iodine on a fresh whiplash was a special kind of agony. Try again, Jax commanded. Gigi. HM. Another lash, just as ruthless as the first. He was no longer the Jax from his past life who could be slaughtered at will. This time, he was the one in control. Aha! Help me! Leo wailed. Jax just kept whipping. Finally, the stubborn young master bowed his head, his heart full of unwilling resentment. Bro. Brother-in-law. Please stop hitting me, I'm begging you. The title brother-in-law was torn from Leo's lips, a complete and utter submission. Jax raised an eyebrow, somewhat satisfied with Leo's pragmatism. But it wasn't enough to erase the agony of his past life. TSK. At least you learned fast, Jax said, his lips curling into a cold, terrifying smirk. Now, I want you to answer me seriously. Who put you up to this? And who gave you this so-called itching powder? At this moment, he felt his own mental state drifting closer to that of his Yandra wife. He realized that people don't just suddenly go insane. They're pushed to the brink by an endless barrage of pain and betrayal. In his past life, Jax had been fading in and out of consciousness when Lily questioned Leo. The trauma of that night had given him PTSD, and he had repressed the memories. But later, he had sensed that something was wrong. First, there was the itching powder. He had studied traditional medicine to try and please his second sister, Madison, so he knew a thing or two about identifying substances. Normal itching powder could never produce such a bone-deep, soul-clawing sensation. Even a whole bottle would only cause surface-level itching, not a feeling of insects crawling inside your bones. That itching powder had been tampered with. That was the conclusion he had reached long after the incident, when he had forced himself to confront the memory. He had even asked Lily about it directly. But Lily, who was usually so compliant with him, had for the first time avoided his question. That was shortly before he stole the Astor Group's seal and confidential files, and around the time her health was rapidly declining. He had vaguely noticed something was wrong with her then, her skin always a deathly, sickly pale. But at the time, he had wished for her to die. He certainly hadn't cared if she was truly sick. But now, he would uncover the truth himself. You don't have to talk. I can tell you right now that this powder has been tampered with. Normal itching powder doesn't feel like this. You can probably feel it too. This stuff has been poisoned. If you don't believe me, I can take you to a hospital to get it tested. But before that, I need to know who was behind this. Who wanted him to suffer a fate worse than death? Or were the Astors all just monsters who took pleasure in torturing others? No, that's impossible. Chloe just said the itching powder would teach you a lesson. Leo blurted out, his face pale. I never wanted to kill you. Even if he hadn't intended to kill Jax, he had wanted to maim him. But now, he was the one at the mercy of another. He still believed Jax wouldn't dare do anything serious to him. If Jax really hurt him, his sister would never forgive him. But Jax just laughed. Chloe Vance? So was her. He had underestimated her. Then his eyes darkened. So that's why Lily didn't tell him the truth in his past life. She knew her time was short. She let him go, preserving his pure feelings for Chloe, not wanting him to live with any more pain. Was Lily really that kind? Wasn't she the type who wanted to drag him to the grave with her? Jax was confused. His Yandra wife's love was selfish, terrifying, and possessive to the extreme. How could she have allowed him to continue holding out hope for Chloe? He couldn't figure it out. Is that so? Jax said, his voice dripping with sarcasm. You really didn't want to kill me? Just maim me. He picked up the axe and approached the curled-up form of Leo. Same place, same pose. Only this time, the roles of executioner and victim were completely reversed. He held the axe in front of the whimpering, scratching Leo, his stance identical to Leo's from the past. This time, you get to feel what it's like to be a helpless insect. Leo couldn't take it anymore. The itching was deep in his bones. As if in a trance, he reached out and gripped the handle of the axe. Crunch. Leo brought the axe down on his own arm. Blood splattered across Jax's face, but he just smiled, a strangely satisfied grin. Payback. He would make them all pay. Leo was just the first. Suddenly, the basement door was kicked open. Jax and Leo both turned to look. There stood Lily, clutching her red gown doll, her bare feet silent on the cold floor. Jax, what game are you playing? She cooed, her head tilted to one side. Lily, want to play? Too. Leo's blood ran cold. Lily stood in the doorway, her head tilted as she observed the bloody scene. Her snow-white skin seemed to glow eerily in the dim light. her red dress the color of blood. Her clear, glass-like eyes shone with a terrifying innocence, as if she really had just come to join a game. Jack said nothing. He watched as she walked toward him, step by step. He unconsciously lowered the axe and, as if possessed, opened his arms to her. Lily can do whatever she wants. I'll play with you. He opened his arms, a gamble, using himself as bait to lure his Yandra wife. His gaze flickered past her to the red doll she was clutching, and to the other hand, which was holding a length of chain, the very chain he had used to bind her, the same one she had once used to imprison him. He was betting on whether she had come to chain him up again, or whether she would side with the apparent victim, her own brother. Of course, the latter seemed highly unlikely. But Leo didn't think so. The searing pain from the axe wound had shocked him back to some semblance of sanity. He scrambled toward Lily, wailing, "Sister. Sister, save me. Jax is trying to kill me." Like a drowning man grasping at a straw, Leo was just short of hugging her leg and sobbing. He was, after all, only 17, a boy whose entire world revolved around his sister. Right now, Lily was his last hope. "Save you." Lily's voice was cold as ice. "Why don't you start by explaining why you're in Moonshadow Estate tonight? Was the whipping I gave you last time not harsh enough? Did the scars heal so fast you've already forgotten the pain?" Her eyes were glacial. The moment she saw the scene, she had pieced it together. Leo had been used to harm Jax, but Jax had turned the tables on him. The gash on his arm was a punishment of his own making. "Sister, I was wrong. I'll never do it again." Leo burst into tears. His sister was standing right there, but her eyes were fixed on Jax, as if he didn't even exist. It made him burn with jealousy. It made him break. He was her only remaining family in this world, the only one who still stood by her side. And this was how she treated him? He wasn't even worth a fraction of Jax's notice. Lily didn't even glance at the boy on the floor. The massacre on her coming-of-age night had been so brutal, her ruthlessness toward her own family so complete, that she had tried to hold onto the last shred of her humanity by tolerating this brother she was not particularly close to. But Leo kept crossing her lines, again and again. Was he trying to force her to destroy that last inch of her own conscience? Lily's body trembled with rage. Her suspicions about Jax, trying to escape, vanished. The chain in her hand fell to the floor, landing squarely on Leo's head. Leo flinched. In 2 quick steps, Lily launched herself into Jax's open arms. The warmth of his broad shoulders and the familiar scent that drove her wild filled her with an unprecedented sense of contentment. Jax caught her securely, completely disarmed by her sudden embrace. "My Lily is so damn cute," he thought. The way she wanted to be held, so soft and cuddly, was like a lazy, affectionate calico cat. Lily wrapped her arms around Jax, her legs shamelessly encircling his waist. She clung to him like a koala, and a glint of bloodlust flashed in her eyes. She lowered her head and bit down hard on his neck. Pain. The taste of blood. Only this could make her feel like he was real. Jax didn't run away, and Jax learned to fight back when he was bullied. He truly is the man I chose. So fierce. Jax gritted his teeth, enduring the pain she inflicted. Yep, he thought. This calico cat's claws are still sharp. Oof. Lily, but a little lighter, he grunted. That hurts. He held her waist with one hand and supported her backside with the other, allowing her to cling to him more comfortably. Humph. The pain will help you remember, she hissed, releasing him. She then brought her hand up to his throat, her grip light, but possessive. This was her marking him, training him. She wanted him to submit to her completely, from his body to his soul, to be branded with her exclusive mark. Leo watched, horrified. So, am I just part of your BDSM roleplay? He started writhing on the ground again, the itching becoming unbearable. The noise finally drew Lily's attention back to him. He's been dosed with itching powder, she asked. Not just that, Jax said. I checked the bottle. It smells like heart itch root. The toxin from that plant can make someone feel like their heart is being clawed out for 3 days and 3 nights. It's a violent poison, enough to torture someone to death. But as long as you let blood, it's not fatal. In his past life, Jax had lost a lot of blood from the axe wound, which had inadvertently neutralized some of the poison. He had then passed out, sparing him the worst of the suffering. But the experience had instilled in him a deep-seated fear and resentment of Lily. As for Leo, Jax wanted to teach him a lesson, but he never intended to kill him. Lily's eyes darkened. She slid down from Jax's embrace and walked barefoot over to Leo, crouching down to look at him. Leo, you crossed the line again. Do you know what that means? Since Lily had taken power in the family, there was an unwritten rule. Lily's decisions were divine decrees, not to be defied or questioned. Anyone who crossed the line would be sent to the water cell for punishment. When Lily had first taken over the Astor Group, the old family estate's water cell had been a very busy place. But almost no one who went in lasted more than 2 days before turning into a pile of bones. Lily, from the very beginning, was a beast with madness in her bones. Leo was terrified. He curled into a ball, finally resigning himself to his fate. Sister, just kill me. It's fine. It's not like you care about me anyway. All you care about is this bastard Jax. Yes, Lily said, nodding in satisfaction. It's good that you know. The woman's dark red hair fell over her shoulders, her red dress and pale skin a stark contrast. Without her usual domineering makeup, her face looked almost innocent and harmless. Leo stared. What the hell? Jax must have put a curse on her. You should be glad, Leo. The water cell is full, Lily said slowly. To Leo, it sounded like a divine pardon. If I knew it. She still cares about me. The next second, Lily turned to Jax. Click. Whoosh. In one fluid motion, she unbuckled Jax's belt, yanked it free, and brought it down hard on Leo's back. Crack. The pain was somehow worse than the whip. It was a live-action reenactment of a dark nursery rhyme. The belt from a loving sis on her naughty brother's back it hits. Seeing he's not dead or gone, she beats him till the break of dawn. That night, Leo's screams echoed throughout the estate. Mr. Sterling, who was sleeping next to the great white lion, the general, heard the cries and instinctively burrowed deeper into the lion's thick fur. The general might look terrifying, but Mr. Sterling had been secretly feeding him prime cuts of meat for weeks and had established a good rapport. As long as the general was well fed, he had no interest in the 100-odd pounds of old flesh on Mr. Sterling's bones. Sounds like the young master is getting a beating, he mumbled. Well, if he's getting beaten, then they can't beat old Sterling. Adhering to the principle of better you than me, the butler snuggled deeper into the lion's den. After a night of strenuous activity, Lily and Jax were both exhausted. They slept, wrapped in each other's arms, until noon. Leo was carried out of the estate early in the morning. Mr. Sterling, being the most familiar with the goings-on at the local hospital's intensive care unit, was naturally reinstated to his official duties. As he helped carry Leo out, he could barely look at the web of welts and bruises covering the boy's body. Nathan, my boy, the tides have turned at Moonshadow Estate. Mr. Sterling sighed. From now on, I fear it will be Jax's world. Nathan rolled his eyes. They turned a long time ago. You're always the last to know. Mr. Sterling scowled. You're the one who's full of it. Having given Leo his lesson, Jax was back to full strength. That afternoon was the National Collegiate Science and Innovation Competition. After waking up, he quickly got ready and headed to the university. Of course, before he left, Lily pulled him back, wrapped her arms around his neck, and kissed him breathless before finally letting him go. What's so bad about having a Yandra wife? Jax thought. Well, there's the fact that my body is frequently covered in an irregular pattern of bruises. The exclusive brand of the great Miss Astor. At Kingston University, the venue for the National Collegiate Science and Innovation Competition was abuzz. The regional finals were being hosted at Kingston this year, so the university was taking it very seriously, having already held a campus-wide selection process. The hall was filled with talent, brilliant young minds from various universities, all of them prodigies with an undeniable air of pride. Caleb Pierce stood among them. After his parents had taken him home the day before, he'd received some basic treatment for his injuries, and the bruising should have started to fade. Instead, his face was a mottled palette of colors. Anyone with eyes could see he'd been brutally beaten. And the person who would dare to beat Caleb Pierce could only be the newly powerful sugar baby turned tycoon, Jax. The Pierce family was also taking this competition very seriously. They were united in their belief that Jax had stolen Caleb's research. Having failed to punish him at home, they would publicly expose him here at the competition and ruin his reputation. He would no longer be allowed to enjoy the fruits of Caleb's labor. Jax, the thief, didn't deserve it. He didn't have a right. Jax was dressed in a comfortable, casual outfit, a baseball cap pulled low over his eyes. He started to walk into the crowd, one hand casually tucked in his pocket, where a nondescript USB drive rested. He was stopped by a figure blocking his path. Jax raised an eyebrow, not surprised in the least. It was his fourth sister, Scarlett Pierce, once a top-tier actress in the entertainment industry. She was wearing a thick, black mask and had wrapped herself in a heavy coat, as if terrified someone might recognize the long-faded movie queen. Jax sidestepped with disgust, intending to walk right past her. "Jax, you stop right there," she hissed. "Don't think you can just run away from your problems. How could you be so heartless, blackmailing Chloe Vance for $600,000 in car damages? Are you even my brother anymore? You were never so materialistic. Did climbing the social ladder finally reveal your true colors? I'm telling you, we are not paying that money. And since you think your sports car is so damaged, you can just give it to Caleb. Mom and Dad said his car was totaled. As his older brother, giving him your old car. Well, it's a bit of a step down for Caleb, but the car is still decent. I'm sure he can reluctantly accept it. Scarlett spoke with an air of entitlement. Years of Jax's bottomless giving had spoiled her rotten. Before, Jax had nothing. But now that Jax had usurped the opportunity that should have been Caleb's, marrying into a top-tier family like the Astors and enjoying the life of a billionaire's husband, just asking him to give a used supercar to Caleb was a small thing. He couldn't possibly be so petty as to deny his own family such a minor request. Jax was so stunned by her logic that he laughed out loud. Scarlett, did that steel wire that scarred your face scramble your brains too? Are you okay? Are you even speaking English? Because I can't make sense of a single word you're saying. His mocking laughter stabbed at Scarlett's fragile heart. In the Pierce family, her disfigurement was a taboo subject, the source of a woman's lifelong pain. And now, Jax had deliberately brought it up again and again. He was doing it on purpose, twisting the knife. And who told you I asked for $600,000 in damages? He continued. Scarlett, you really are an idiot. Let me give you the real number. I only asked Chloe for $200,000. Caleb told you $600? TSK. Looks like your little brother is playing middleman and taking a cut. In that case, just give me the $600,000. I'm an easygoing guy. I'm not picky. Jax's tone was light, but his eyes were cold, the smile never reaching them. Jax, stop trying to sow discord. Scarlett snapped, her face ugly. Caleb would never lie. But you're a thief. Why should I trust you? Despite her words, a seed of doubt was planted. According to Caleb, Chloe had only knocked on the car window. For Jax to demand $600,000, a sum he knew Chloe couldn't possibly afford, did seem unlikely. But Caleb would never lie to her, would he? Just then, Chloe Vance entered the hall. She was still wearing her signature white dress, but her face was pale and blank, looking completely drained. The humiliation in the lab had been a massive blow to her ego. She, the campus belle, prided herself on her image and was used to having a legion of admirers. But now, even though she had begged her classmates not to spread the story of her mortifying accident and had used her beauty to secure the silence of many of her devoted followers, who were proud to share a secret with the campus belle, she had forgotten one loose cannon. Sam Cole. Ha! You didn't see that coming, did you? I don't fall for your green tea bitch act. That very night, Sam had registered dozens of fake accounts and carpet-bombed the Kingston University gossip forums with the news. Campus belle loses control of her bladder in lab. The story blew up. The campus belle was, after all, a symbol of Kingston's prestige. Such a scandal spread like wildfire, quickly becoming gossip at rival universities. Chloe couldn't bear the humiliation and had almost jumped off a building. But then, she had a realization. Lily, this must be my Aunt Lily's doing. She was jealous that Chloe had won Jax's heart, so she had deliberately made her look like a fool. Chloe knew she was no match for her Aunt Lily in most respects. But she had one thing Lily could never have, Jax's heart. Chloe pulled herself together. This time, she would win back the heart of the boy she had once cast aside like a worn-out shoe. Jessica was right. Men never forget their first love, and she was as white moonlight. She had deliberately made herself look frail and came to the competition, partly at Caleb's request, but also with her own agenda. Sure enough, the moment she walked in, she saw Jax waving at her. Chloe couldn't believe it. She suppressed a surge of joy and maintained a cool expression as she walked toward them. Huh, so the simp is back. She held her head high, basking in the surprised stares of the people around her. Her expression was, of course, a carefully crafted mask of fragile, wronged beauty. Jax, you were looking for me. Chloe couldn't hold back her eagerness. To have the new, handsome Jax still fawning over her was just the thing to reverse her fortunes and restore her reputation. The $200,000 for my car. You have it ready. Jax asked pointedly. Chloe naturally saw Scarlett standing nearby. Unsure if Scarlett knew she had asked Caleb for $500,000, she played it safe, a true grifter's caution. Wasn't it $500,000? She asked innocently. Caleb said he would take care of it for me, as a favor for all the times I took care of him for you. Scarlett's breath hitched. She stared at Chloe in disbelief, as if seeing her for the first time. She had always thought Chloe was kind, gentle, and pure. But now this girl seemed like a complete stranger. And her dear brother Caleb, who she thought was only looking out for her, seemed to have his own secrets. Oh, So you asked Caleb for 500,000? Jax laughed. You've got a big appetite. And Director Pierce, he said, turning to Scarlett, where did your $600,000 quote come from? How come I, the actual owner, have no idea what's going on? Scarlett fell silent. She didn't blame Caleb. Instead, a wave of resentment toward Chloe washed over her. She dared to deceive Caleb? He must have been short on money himself and was forced to misreport the amount to me. A pang of guilt hit her, and the sight of Jax's triumphant expression only fueled her anger. Jax, Caleb must have had his reasons. I believe him. But you repeatedly antagonized Caleb and Chloe. I want you to apologize to them immediately. Otherwise, Scarlett threatened, a tactic that had always worked in the past. Whenever she put on a stern face, Jax would immediately start groveling. Otherwise what? Jax asked, a wicked smile playing on his lips. Scarlett's lips trembled. The young man before her had changed so much. It was like he had grown thorns all over his body, thorns that were pointed only at his own family. It was infuriating. Otherwise, don't expect me to ever acknowledge you as my brother again. Scarlett sneered. This was her trump card, a guaranteed success. She wanted to see how long he could keep up this act. Oh, I thought you were going to play for higher stakes. Is that it? How boring. Why don't I play a bigger game with you? Scarlett, look at the camera. He suddenly roared, his voice echoing through the hall. Cameras, get over here. It's the retired movie queen, Scarlett Pierce. The superstar is at Kingston. Everyone, quick, get an autograph. The entire hall turned to look. The camera crew, which Jax had arranged beforehand in his capacity as student council president, immediately swiveled their lenses toward them. The next second, with lightning speed, Jax reached out and tore the mask from Scarlett's face. Scarlett, isn't this ruined face of yours what you care about most? The more you fear it, the more I enjoy it. The thing Scarlett Pierce cared about most in the world was her face. To repair the scars, she had consulted with the world's most renowned plastic surgeons, all in a desperate attempt to restore her former beauty. But technology could never replicate what nature had given her. The frantic repairs had left her features stiff and distorted. The scars that remained were ugly patches on her skin, making her look even worse than she had right after the accident. Jax's roar was brutally effective. A university campus was full of starstruck students, and the proportion of gossip-hungry onlookers was one of the highest in society. In less than a minute, Scarlett was surrounded. She screamed, covering her face. The thick black mask was gone, deliberately torn away by Jax. All she could do was use her hands and coat to hide. In that moment, she felt her soul shatter. Jax stood calmly outside the circle of people, watching the scene with cold, detached amusement. Huh, you were so arrogant in front of me just now. I thought you were so tough. Caleb, hobbling from a combination of old and new injuries, soon noticed the commotion. Though he was playing up the limp, the beating from Lily's men had been very real. He looked pathetically comical, like a reject from Gotham City. A celebrity? Where? Let's go get an autograph. I heard someone say it's the retired actress Scarlett Pierce. Didn't she move behind the camera to write and direct? You have to admit, she's really talented. Her new movie just broke $500 million at the box office. She's probably going to win an award for it. To get an autograph from such a talented director would be an honor. Yeah, Director Pierce is a genius. But why is she at Kingston? Does she know one of the contestants? Man, that's so cool. Wait, Jax and Caleb's fifth sister is named Sierra Pierce. This director, Scarlett Pierce. The names fit the family pattern. Could they be related? Were you slow? If Sierra is the fifth sister, then there must be 4 older ones. I heard the other 4 are all super successful in their own fields but keep a low profile. She's probably here for Caleb. Yeah, after all, Jax is being kept by some rich woman. If the Pierce family found out, they'd probably kick him out. The crowd buzzed, but the students, for the most part, maintained a level of decorum. Because Scarlett had immediately crouched down and hidden her face after her mask was snatched, almost no one had gotten a good look, aside from the cameras. They were more in awe of her fame and talent, eager to see her in person, but they politely refrained from trying to pull her hand away. Jax stood outside the crowd, playing with the black mask in his hand. He met Scarlett's furious gaze as she peered at him from between her fingers. Her eyes seemed to want to cut him into 1,000 pieces. But who cared? He raised his hand and let the mask fall to the floor. Then, he strode forward and stepped on it. This blatant act of humiliation sent Scarlett, who had always felt so superior and untouchable in front of Jax, plummeting from the clouds. She stared in disbelief, her body shaking with rage. Jax ground the mask under his heel for a moment, then lifted his foot and looked down at her, his posture one of absolute dominance. It was the same condescending look Scarlett used to give him, as if he were a piece of trash. In that instant, another sharp pain pierced Scarlett's heart. "Crawl over here, pick it up, and put it on, and I won't leak the photos I just took," Jack said calmly. "Otherwise, I think tomorrow's entertainment news will be very interesting." His voice was even, but the threat was as sharp and effective as any of Lily's. "Jax, don't go too far." Chloe Vance suddenly stepped forward, her voice ringing with righteous indignation. "Fourth sister came here specially for Caleb. Even if you can't have an award-winning director come to see you, you don't have to deliberately rub salt in her wounds. You know she retired from the spotlight to live a private life, that she doesn't want to be seen in public. The students of Kingston University are better than this. We don't tear people down. Please, everyone make some space. Let her get up." Chloe, the pure, stubborn little white flower, had come to the rescue. She was an expert at playing the victim, at manipulating public opinion with a single tear, and she had fooled many men with this act. And it worked. The crowd, already in awe of the talented director, willingly stepped back. "Jax is being such an ass. If I had a materialistic, ungrateful brother like that, I'd kill him. Let's just disperse." It's not new news that Jax is jealous of his brother. He got lost as a kid, came back to the family with all sorts of bad habits. He probably gets his kicks from bullying Caleb, who was raised as a perfect gentleman. At the end of the day, he's just insecure. Selling his body is just another sign of his insecurity. Look at him, driving a different luxury car every day. It's obviously to provoke Caleb, to show off that he's doing better. But in reality, who knows how many beatings he takes from that rich woman behind closed doors. Let him be arrogant for now. The university administration issued a notice. If Jax doesn't place in the top 3 in this competition, it proves he stole Caleb's award in the campus round, and the university will expel him. Good riddance. A piece of rat shit like him will just contaminate the whole pot. The tide of public opinion turned, and the crowd began to thin. Scarlett, her face hidden by her hoodie, shakily stood up. She stared at the mask on the floor, torn. She was born proud, a respected artist in her field. She had never been so thoroughly humiliated. But she was terrified that Jax would actually post her photos online. He was insane now. A madman, a thief, had no morals. "Are you going to pick it up?" Jax asked, his tone pressing. It sounded like he was asking, "Are you a piece of trash?" Scarlett's brow furrowed. Finally, swallowing her pride, she took a step toward the filthy mask. It wasn't just a mask, it was her shield. Jax had trampled on it, and she was powerless to fight back. But soon, Jax would be expelled from Kingston. Without a degree, unable to find an internship in the city, he would have no choice but to come crawling back to the family. And then, she would skin him alive. "I'll pick it up," she whispered, her pride and dignity shattering into a million pieces. "I'm trash," Jax heard. He watched with satisfaction as she bent down and picked up the dirty mask. He wasn't surprised to see tears of humiliation, mixed with pure hatred, streaming from her eyes. Hate him? TSK. She'd have to earn the right. Scarlett, this is just the beginning. You can't take it already? Chloe, having successfully steered the narrative and re-established her persona as the kind, brave campus belle, felt a surge of triumph. Even if Jax was angry with her now for siding against him, once he had time to think, he would be in awe of his white moonlight. A white moonlight should always be on the side of justice, forever out of reach. The contrast would make him long for her, make him realize he wasn't worthy of her. It would only make him simp harder. A man had to be reeled in. "Jax, stop this," she said, her face a mask of innocent concern. "Before the competition starts, go apologize to the dean. Maybe they'll just give you a demerit instead of expelling you. I'm only thinking of you." She was the perfect picture of a little white flower who knew nothing of the situation, who had simply chosen the side of righteousness and was now trying to pull him back from the brink. What a dazzling white moonlight. Jax hawked a wad of spit and sent it flying toward the ground near her feet. "Tui, if you're sick, go to a doctor. If you're unhappy, go die. Stop buzzing around me like a fly," he snarled. "Lady, the sight of you makes me want to puke. I could smell the stench of piss on you from 50 feet away. Why are you so obsessed with drama? If a garbage truck caught fire, you'd be the first one there trying to roast marshmallows on it, wouldn't you?" His disgust was raw and unfiltered. His already foul mood had only worsened after seeing so many repulsive faces. Right now, he just wanted to flip off the heavens. What a fucking day. Jessica appeared, dressed to kill in a seductive red dress that clung to her curves, giving her a new, mature allure. She had dressed this way on purpose. For what she'd heard, Jax was into older, more sophisticated women now. She had to cater to his tastes. A bland white lotus like Chloe could never attract the new Jax. She confidently stood next to Chloe, a deliberate contrast in style. She was already a departmental beauty, and the bold, glamorous look suited her features perfectly. To the onlookers, she was a stunning sight. "Jax, darling," Chloe was just. Jessica began, her red lips pouting deliberately. Jax's eyes were assaulted. "Shut up," he snapped. "You too. Get lost." Jax's comment about the stench of piss shattered Chloe's carefully constructed composure. But right now, she couldn't afford to provoke him. He was clearly unhinged, launching indiscriminate attacks, even on his own white moonlight. Once he calmed down, he would surely regret it and slap himself silly. So, Chloe settled for fuming internally, then turned and ran off, wiping away tears of indignation. With the competition about to begin, Caleb helped Scarlett to the judges' panel. That's right. Scarlett had used her connections in the city to secure herself a position as a judge for the national competition. She had put her mask back on, but she looked far more haggard than when she had first arrived. Jax scanned the judges' table and noticed there were 4 seats. One of them, however, was covered with an expensive cushion, equipped with an exquisite leg rest, and even the material of the chair itself was a grade above the other 3. Was some big shot coming? For university students, this science competition was a big deal. But in the grand scheme of things, it was small potatoes. The world was full of talent. A student science fair was little more than a game. The judges were usually highly respected senior professors from various major universities. Scarlett, an outsider, already looked glaringly out of place on the panel. What was she doing there? Providing artistic commentary. Even an idiot could see this was a joke. Scarlett's status was certainly enough to command respect at a small student competition. But when she saw the special treatment given to the one chair, her expression soured. "Oof, does my status not warrant the same?" She thought bitterly. She was curious to see what Big Shot had demanded such an extravagant display. Soon, the top students from various universities gathered in their respective prep areas. Jax and Caleb were both representing Kingston University. Across from them, unsurprisingly, were the students from Westwood Tech, Kingston's perennial rival for the top university spot. Westwood's physics department was world-renowned. For other schools, competing against them in a science competition was like being bullied by a STEM-focused heavyweight. No wonder Kingston was taking this so seriously. If they didn't place, the admissions office would have a very busy year ahead. The host took the stage and asked the contestants to present their projects. Next to each project, they were to place the complete patent application and development proposal. And then, as expected, the unexpected happened. The projects presented by Jax and Caleb were identical. What is that giant lump of wires? It looks so unremarkable. Is your focus really on that, and not the fact that they're both from Kingston and brought the exact same invention? Kingston is going to be a national laughingstock. Am I the only one curious what that thing even is? Look at the other schools' projects, they're so high-tech. And Kingston brings out that. It looks like a pile of shit in comparison. When Scarlett saw that Jax's project was still identical to Caleb's, her face went cold. She slammed her hand on the table and, out of habit, started yelling. "Jax, you stole Caleb's design again. It was one thing to cheat in the campus competition, but to do it at a national event like this? Are you deliberately trying to disgrace the Pierce family? As a judge for this competition, I order you to withdraw immediately, and I will personally handle your withdrawal from the university. That's more dignified than being expelled. And another thing, apologize to Caleb now. Stealing at home is a family matter, but to continue your thieving habits at a school event. Mom was right. You really are a curse on this family. You bring shame to us everywhere you go." Scarlett was incandescent with rage, her anger fueled by the humiliation she had just suffered at Jax's hands. The crowd turned to Jax, their faces filled with a mixture of mockery and derision. "Jax, if you don't have the skills, don't try to act tough. You'll just die faster and uglier. What's the point?" Caleb, seeing his chance, put on his familiar, gentle, and wronged expression. "Fourth sister, Brother Jax didn't do it on purpose. He just wanted the $10,000 prize money to pay off his debts. He's our family. We should stand with him and support him, not blame him for his lack of ambition. Besides, everything that belongs to me also belongs to him. We're brothers. I'm used to sharing everything with him." Caleb bit his lip, his downcast eyes casting a shadow of melancholy and grievance. In an instant, the crowd understood. So Jax had been stealing from Caleb his whole life. What was the difference between him and a common thug? After all, for Jax to be able to return to a wealthy family like the Pierces after being lost was a blessing of 8 lifetimes. He should have been grateful that Caleb, the original sole heir, had so generously accepted his return. Instead, he bullied the kind, gentle Caleb. Unforgivable. Jax was now facing a tidal wave of public condemnation. Everyone, from their moral high ground, accused him of being an ungrateful leech, a parasite on the Pierce family. Jax laughed, a cold, chilling sound. Without another moment's hesitation, he grabbed the hair of the person closest to him, Caleb, and slammed his head onto the table. He had his own way of dealing with manipulative drama queens. Go completely berserk. Don't give them a chance to spew their bullshit. If their mouths were only good for spouting crap, then they might as well be used for screaming in pain. Aya-aya-wah, Caleb shrieked. Brother Jax, we're not at home. You can't hit me in public, it's illegal. Jax's rage intensified. The crowd gasped. So Jax beats him up at home, too? This family is seriously messed up. Someone was already pulling out their phone to call the police. But the next moment, a flash of brilliant red entered the hall. A woman, wearing a pair of dangerously sexy red-bottomed high heels, strode in. Her features were dazzlingly beautiful, like a poppy that had bloomed to its most extreme, intoxicating perfection. Every step she took, though light, carried an immense weight, a natural, domineering presence that held everyone in the room captive. Oh my God, the final judge. Is that Professor Astor? Professor Astor changed her style. Wow, her professional look last time was already drool-worthy, but this femme fatale look. I'm about to pull a Mrs. Robinson. Others were just confused, their brains short-circuiting from her beauty. Who was she? She looked so young, she could have passed for a freshman. And she was a professor? What kind of genius did you have to be for that? Dean Peterson, who hadn't even shown up for the official start of the competition, was now trotting behind Lily, his back bent in a near-perfect 90-degree bow. When it came to sucking up, he was a true master. Miss Astor, right this way, please. He turned on Scarlett. You old fossil, have you no eyes? Can't you see the great Miss Astor of the Astor Group needs to get through? Get up and make way. Scarlett, who was used to being the center of attention everywhere she went, turned pale. She didn't dare argue. She obediently stood up to make way, even though Lily was still a good 15 feet away from her. But a single glance from the revered heiress of the Astor Group was enough to revoke her right to sit. Such was the power of the Astor name. Lily walked past her, a good 6 feet away, then wrinkled her nose and said, her lips barely moving, Peterson, I have an aversion to ugliness. I won't sit with an ugly freak. Move her seat 1,000 meters away. Scarlett felt like her lungs would explode. 1,000 meters away. That's basically kicking me off the judges' panel. But when Lily Astor wanted to slap you, you had to smile and offer her your face. Dean Peterson beamed. Right away, Miss Astor. He would send her 1,000 miles away, into a world of silent black and white.